My wife texted, "Don't wait for me tonight," at 1 a.m. I sent one photo and replied, "No one is waiting anymore." She arrived in 7 minutes, breathless. What did that photo show that made her realize everything was already over? My name is Daniel Trace, and I'm a building superintendent. I work night shifts most of the week. I maintain heating systems, handle tenant complaints, and keep the security logs updated. People think my job is simple. They're wrong. You learn to notice patterns when you work nights. You see who comes home late. You see who doesn't come home at all. My wife Megan texted me at 1:07 in the morning. I was sitting in the building office finishing paperwork. My phone lit up on the desk. The message was short. "Don't wait for me tonight. Working late again. Love you." I read it twice. She had sent the same type of message 6 times in the last month, always after midnight, always vague, always with "love you" at the end like that made it true. I looked at the timestamp, 1:07 a.m. She wasn't at work. Her office building closed at 11. Security locked the doors. I knew because I used to pick her up sometimes. I stood up and walked to the apartment. We lived on the 8th floor, Unit 8C. I unlocked the door and went straight to the bedroom. I turned on the light. Her closet was half open, dresses hanging neatly, shoes lined up on the bottom rack. Everything organized the way she liked it. I pulled out my phone and took one picture, just the empty closet, the light overhead, the neat rows of clothes that would still be there tomorrow. I sent the photo to her. No caption. Then I typed one sentence. "No one is waiting for you anymore." I hit send at 1:09 a.m., 2 minutes after her text. I didn't sit down. I walked to the storage closet in the hallway and pulled out 3 cardboard boxes. They were folded flat. I carried them to the living room and stacked them by the front door. I didn't tape them. I didn't label them. I just stacked them where she would see them the second she walked in. Then I went to the kitchen and made coffee. I sat at the table. I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't check my phone. I just waited. The coffee went cold in the cup. I didn't drink it. 14 minutes later, I heard her key in the lock. 1:23 a.m. I checked my watch. She was out of breath when the door opened. She stopped in the doorway. She stared at the boxes. Then she looked at me. "What is this?" she said. Her voice was tight. She was still holding her phone. I didn't answer. I just looked at her. She was wearing a black blouse and dark jeans, heels, the same outfit she'd worn to work that morning. Her hair was down. She smelled like perfume, not the one she usually wore. "Daniel," she said again. "What are the boxes for?" I sipped the cold coffee. I set the cup down. I still didn't say anything. She walked toward the kitchen. Her heels clicked on the floor. She put her purse on the counter. She was breathing fast. "Did you get my text?" she asked. I nodded. "Then why did you send me that picture?" I leaned back in the chair. "Because no one is waiting," I said. Her face changed. She looked at the boxes again, then back at me. "Are you leaving?" she asked. I shook my head. "Then what is this?" I stood up. I walked past her into the living room. She followed me. "Daniel, talk to me. What's going on?" I stopped at the boxes. I looked down at them. Then I looked at her. "These are for you," I said, "whenever you're ready." She stared at me. Her mouth opened, then closed. "You're being ridiculous," she said. "I told you I was working late." I nodded. "You did. So why are you acting like this?" I walked back to the kitchen. I rinsed the coffee cup in the sink. I dried my hands on the towel. She was still standing in the living room. Her arms were crossed. She looked angry now. Or maybe scared. It was hard to tell. "I'm going to bed," I said. I walked past her toward the bedroom. She grabbed my arm. "Daniel, stop." I stopped. I didn't look at her. "Please," she said. "Tell me what's wrong." I pulled my arm away gently. "Nothing's wrong," I said. "I'm just tired." I went into the bedroom and closed the door. I didn't lock it. I sat on the edge of the bed. I could hear her in the living room. She was talking on the phone. Her voice was low. I couldn't make out the words. The call lasted 2 minutes. Then I heard her footsteps in the hallway. She tried the bedroom door. It opened. I was sitting in the dark. "Can I come in?" she asked. "It's your room, too," I said. She sat on the other side of the bed. We didn't look at each other. The room was quiet. She was breathing hard again. "I don't understand why you're doing this," she said. I didn't answer. "I told you I was working late," she said. "Why don't you believe me?" I turned my head slightly. I looked at the closet door. It was still half open. The light from the hallway fell across the dresses. "I believe you told me that," I said. She went quiet. Then she stood up. Fine, she said. If you want to be like this, fine. She walked out. I heard her in the bathroom. Water running, the door closing. I waited until the apartment went silent. Then I got up and walked to the living room. I opened my laptop on the kitchen table. I logged into the building security system. I pulled up the entry log for Unit 8C. I scrolled back 3 weeks, 5 late entries. 11:15 p.m., 11:40 p.m., 12:10 a.m., 12:50 a.m., 1:05 a.m. All weeknights, all in the last month. I exported the log as a PDF. I saved it to a folder on my desktop. I labeled the folder Evidence. Then I opened the building's doorbell camera archive. We had cameras at every entrance. They kept footage for 30 days. I found the hallway camera for the 8th floor. I scrolled through the dates that matched the late entries. On 3 of those nights, the same man walked with her to the door. Tall, dark coat. I couldn't see his face clearly. The camera angle was wrong, but I saw enough. I clipped 5 short videos, 10 seconds each. I saved them to the same folder, then I checked the timestamps. They matched the entry log perfectly. I heard the bathroom door open. I closed the laptop. Megan walked into the kitchen. She was wearing a robe now. Her face was washed. She looked tired. "Are you coming to bed?" she asked. I shook my head. "I have work in the morning," I said. She stared at me for a long time. Then she turned and went back to the bedroom. The door closed softly. I opened the laptop again. I went to our shared bank account. I logged in. I pulled up the last 3 months of transactions. I filtered by her card. I scrolled slowly. Grocery store, coffee shop, gas station, normal purchases. Then I saw it. Harborview Grill. Friday night 3 weeks ago. $187. I checked my phone. That was one of the nights she texted me saying she was working late. I kept scrolling. Another charge, same restaurant. 2 weeks ago, $210. Same Friday, late night text. One more. Last week, $198. Same pattern. I took screenshots of all 3 charges. I saved them to the folder. Then I checked her work calendar. We shared it so I could help with pickup schedules for our son. I opened the Fridays that matched the restaurant charges. No client meetings, no work events, just blank spaces. I sat back in the chair. I looked at the folder on my desktop. 5 doorbell clips, 5 entry log timestamps, 3 bank charges, 3 calendar blanks. Everything matched. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I just felt tired. I closed the laptop. I checked my watch. 2:15 a.m. I had to be at work in 5 hours. I walked to the couch. I lay down without a blanket. I closed my eyes. The apartment was silent now. I could hear the heating system hum through the walls. I could hear a tenant on the 6th floor walking across creaky floorboards. I could hear the elevator ding softly in the distance. I thought about the text message. "Don't wait for me tonight." I thought about the boxes by the door. I thought about the man in the dark coat walking her to the door 3 times in 3 weeks. I didn't think about what I would say to her tomorrow. I didn't think about what came next. I just thought about the folder on my desktop. Evidence. 5 clips, 5 logs, 3 charges, 3 blanks. It was enough to start. I opened my eyes. I stared at the ceiling. The apartment was still silent. Megan hadn't come back out. The bedroom door stayed closed. I reached for my phone on the coffee table. I opened the photos. I looked at the picture I'd sent her. The empty closet, the light overhead, the neat rows of clothes. No one is waiting for you anymore. I put the phone down. I closed my eyes again. Sleep didn't come. That was fine. I didn't need sleep. I needed a plan. I needed more evidence. I needed to know who the man in the dark coat was. I needed to know if she was lying about work or if work was part of the lie. I sat up. I opened the laptop one more time. I pulled up the building entry system again. I scrolled to tonight's log. Megan Trace, Unit 8C, entered at 1:23 a.m. Alone. No guest entry before or after. But the previous 5 nights, there were guest entries. Same time window. No name logged. Just visitor buzzed in by resident. I cross-referenced the timestamps. They matched. I made a note on my phone. Ask Jamal about the visitor log tomorrow. Jamal worked the evening desk shift. He saw everyone who came and went. He kept the manual logbook. Security protocol required names for late visitors. If Jamal logged a name, I could find it. I saved everything one more time, then I shut the laptop. I lay back down on the couch. This time, I didn't close my eyes. I just stared at the dark ceiling and waited for morning. I woke up at 6:30. My neck hurt from the couch. The apartment was quiet. I stood up and walked to the bedroom door. It was still closed. I didn't open it. I went to the bathroom and showered. I dressed in my work uniform, dark pants, gray shirt with the building logo, steel-toe boots. I made coffee in the kitchen. I didn't sit down. I drank it standing by the window. The sun was coming up behind the buildings across the street. The sky was orange and gray. I checked my phone. No messages from Megan, no missed calls. I finished the coffee and grabbed my keys. I left the apartment without knocking on the bedroom door. I took the elevator down to the lobby. Jamal was just finishing his shift. He was standing by the desk putting papers into a folder. He looked up when I walked over. "Morning, Daniel," he said. "Morning. You got a minute?" He glanced at the clock on the wall. "Yeah, I'm just finishing my log." "What's up?" "I need to ask you about the visitor entries for Unit 8C. His face changed. He looked uncomfortable. He set the folder down on the desk. "What about them? The late-night entries from the past 3 weeks? Do you remember logging any names?" Jamal shifted his weight. He looked at the door, then back at me. "Daniel, I don't want to get in the middle of anything. I'm not asking you to get in the middle. I just need to know if you logged names for late visitors. That's protocol, right?" He nodded slowly. "Yeah, it's protocol. So did you." He hesitated. Then he pulled out the manual logbook from under the desk. He opened it and flipped back a few pages. He ran his finger down a column. He stopped. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I logged them. Can I see?" He looked at me for a long moment. Then he turned the book around. He pointed at 5 entries, all within the last month, all late nights, all for Unit 8C. The name column had the same name written 5 times. Kyle Harmon. I pulled out my phone. I took a picture of the page. Jamal watched me but didn't stop me. I handed the book back. "Thanks," I said. "Daniel," he said, "I'm just doing my job. I log everyone who comes in after 10 p.m. That's the rule, I know. You did the right thing." He nodded, but he still looked uncomfortable. He closed the book and put it back under the desk. I turned to leave. "Daniel," he said. I stopped. "If anyone asks, I didn't show you that." "No one's going to ask," I said. I walked to the service elevator and rode it down to the basement. I had maintenance checks to finish before the day crew came in. I spent 2 hours inspecting boiler pressure and checking valve seals. I worked slowly. My mind was somewhere else. Kyle Harmon. I didn't recognize the name. I pulled out my phone and opened a browser. I typed the name into the search bar. 3 profiles came up. I scrolled through them. The third one matched. Kyle Harmon, corporate HR director. He worked at the same company as Megan. His profile picture showed a man in a suit, tall, dark hair, mid-40s. I zoomed in on the photo. It could have been the man in the hallway videos. The angle was different, but the build was right. I saved the profile link. I took a screenshot of his job title, HR director. That meant he had authority over terminations, over policy enforcement, over Megan's career. I put the phone away. I finished the boiler inspection and logged the readings. Then I rode the elevator back to the 8th floor. I stood outside Unit 8C. I could hear movement inside. I unlocked the door and walked in. Megan was in the kitchen. She was pouring coffee into a travel mug. She was dressed for work. Blouse, skirt, heels. Her hair was pulled back. She looked up when I came in. Her face was tight. "You didn't sleep in the bedroom," she said. "I slept on the couch." She set the coffee pot down. "Why?" I walked past her to the table. I sat down. I pulled out my phone. "Because I wanted to," I said. She stared at me. "This is ridiculous," she said. "You're acting like a child." I didn't look up from my phone. "Okay." She slammed the mug on the counter. "Daniel, look at me." I looked up. "What is going on with you?" she said. "You send me a picture of the closet. You stack boxes by the door. You won't talk to me. You sleep on the couch. What the hell is happening?" I leaned back in the chair. "Nothing's happening," I said. "I'm just tired." "Tired of what?" I didn't answer. She picked up the mug again. Her hand was shaking. "Fine," she said. "If you want to act like this, fine. But I'm not doing anything wrong. I work late sometimes. That's my job. If you can't handle that, that's your problem." She grabbed her purse and walked to the door. She stopped with her hand on the knob. She looked back at me. "Are those boxes still for me?" she asked. I nodded. She stared at me for a few more seconds. Then she opened the door and left. It closed hard behind her. I sat at the table and waited. I counted to 60. Then I stood up and walked to the window. I looked down at the street. Megan was getting into her car. She pulled out of the parking spot and drove away. I went back to the table. I opened my laptop. I pulled up our shared calendar. Megan's schedule was color-coded. Blue for work meetings, green for personal appointments, red for family events. I scrolled back 3 weeks. I found the first Friday that matched the Harborview Grill charge. Her calendar showed nothing. Just a blank evening. I checked the second Friday. Same thing, blank. The third Friday. Also blank. I opened a new tab and searched for Harborview Grill. The restaurant was downtown, 2 blocks from Megan's office building, 2 blocks from Kyle Harmon's office building. I checked the address on his profile. Same building. I sat back. I stared at the screen. She wasn't meeting a client. She was meeting Kyle. 3 Fridays in a row. Late dinners, expensive charges on our shared account. Then coming home after midnight with texts saying she was working late. I closed the laptop. I stood up and walked to the living room. The 3 boxes were still stacked by the door. I picked them up and carried them to the closet. I put them on the top shelf. Not yet. I wasn't ready to use them yet. I grabbed my phone and called my sister-in-law. Leah answered on the 3rd ring. "Hey, Daniel," she said. "What's up?" "Hey, you busy tonight?" "Not really." "Why?" "I was thinking about having you over for dinner. Just something casual. Megan's been stressed with work, and I thought it might be nice to have family around." There was a pause. "She okay?" Leah asked. "Yeah," I said. "Just busy. You know how it is." "Sure. What time?" 7. "I'll cook." "You're cooking," she said. I laughed a little. "Yeah," I said. "Nothing fancy. Just pasta." "Okay, I'll be there." "Thanks, Leah." I hung up. I checked the time. It was almost noon. I had 7 hours to prepare. I walked to the office supply store 3 blocks away. I bought laminating sheets, a pack of heavy cardstock, a black marker. I came back to the apartment and sat at the kitchen table. I opened the laptop again. I pulled up the folder labeled Evidence. I opened a new document. I typed 3 dates at the top. March 12th, March 19th, March 26th. And under each date, I added 3 pieces of information. Doorbell entry time, bank charge amount, calendar entry. March 12th, entry 11:15 p.m., charge $187, calendar blank. March 19th, entry 12:10 a.m., charge $210, calendar blank. March 26th, entry 12:50 a.m., charge $198, calendar blank. At the bottom of the page, I added one more line. March 12th. Megan told Daniel that Leah babysat. Leah worked night shift that week. I printed 3 copies of the document. I slid them into the laminating sheets. I sealed them with an iron on low heat. The plastic bubbled slightly but held. I trimmed the edges with scissors. 3 timelines. 1 for me, 1 for Megan, 1 for Leah. I set them aside. Then I pulled up my text history with Megan. I scrolled back to March 12th. Her message from that night was still there. Working late tonight. Leah's watching the baby. Don't wait up. I took a screenshot, I printed it, I placed it in a clear sleeve with the date written on the outside in marker. I did the same for March 19th and March 26th, then 3 text screenshots. 3 sleeves. 3 dates. I stacked everything on the counter. Then I started cooking. I boiled water for pasta. I opened a jar of marinara sauce. I cut bread and wrapped it in foil. I set the table with 3 plates. I placed the laminated timelines face down under each plate. At 6:50, Megan came home. She walked into the kitchen and stopped. She looked at the table. "What's this?" she said. "Dinner." I invited Leah. Her face tightened. "Why?" "Because I wanted to." "She's family." Megan set her purse down slowly. She looked at the table again. "Okay," she said. "Fine." She went to the bedroom to change. I heard the closet door open and close. I kept stirring the sauce. At 7 exactly, the doorbell rang. I opened it. Leah stood in the hallway holding a bottle of wine. She smiled. "Hey," she said. "Smells good. Thanks for coming." She walked in. Megan came out of the bedroom. She was wearing jeans and a sweater now. She hugged Leah. "Hey," she said. "I didn't know you were coming." "Daniel invited me," Leah said. "Last minute." Megan glanced at me. "Yeah," she said. "He didn't mention it." We sat down at the table. I served the pasta. I poured water into 3 glasses. Leah opened the wine. We ate in silence for a few minutes. Leah looked between us. She could feel the tension. She set her fork down. "So," she said, "how's work been?" Megan looked up. "Busy," she said. "Lots of late nights." Leah nodded. "Yeah, I get that. I've been pulling doubles all month." I took a sip of water. "Leah," I said, "do you remember babysitting for us a few weeks ago?" Leah frowned. "When?" "March 12th. A Tuesday." She thought for a second. Then she shook her head. No, she said. I didn't babysit that week. I had night shifts Tuesday through Thursday. Why? Megan went very still. Her fork was halfway to her mouth. She set it down slowly. I reached under my plate. I pulled out the laminated timeline. I slid it across the table to Leah. She picked it up. She read it. Her eyes moved down the page. Then she looked up at Megan. Megan, she said quietly, you told him I babysat. Megan opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked at me, then back at Leah. I must have gotten the date wrong, she said. It was probably a different week. Leah turned the timeline around. She pointed at the text screenshot printed at the bottom. This says March 12th, she said. That's the night I worked a double. I couldn't have been here. Megan's face went red. She stood up. She looked at me. What is this? She said. Why are you doing this? I didn't answer. I reached under my plate and pulled out my own timeline. I held it up so she could see it. 3 dates, 3 entry times, 3 charges, 3 blank calendar slots. Leah looked at her timeline again, then at me. Daniel, what's going on? She said. Megan grabbed her purse. She walked toward the door. I'm not doing this, she said. Leah stood up. Megan, wait. Megan stopped at the door. She turned around. Her eyes were wet. You don't understand, she said. He's trying to make me look bad. I set the timeline down on the table. I looked at her. I'm not trying to make you look like anything, I said. I'm just showing what happened. She stared at me, then she looked at Leah. Leah was still holding the timeline. Her face was confused. Megan, she said, did you lie about me babysitting? Megan didn't answer. She opened the door and left. It slammed shut. The apartment went silent. Leah sat back down slowly. She put the timeline on the table. She looked at me. Daniel, she said, what the hell is happening? I picked up my fork. I took a bite of pasta. Then I looked at her. She's been lying, I said, about a lot of things. Leah stared at the timeline, then at the door, then back at me. Oh my God, she whispered. I nodded. I stood up and started clearing the plates. Leah left 20 minutes later. She hugged me at the door. She didn't say much. Just call me if you need anything. I nodded. She took the laminated timeline with her. She said she wanted to keep it in case Megan tried to rewrite what happened. I watched her walk down the hallway to the elevator. Then I closed the door. The apartment was quiet. Megan's plate was still on the table. Half the pasta was gone. Her wine glass was empty. I cleared everything and washed the dishes. I dried them and put them away. Then I wiped down the table and the counters. I worked slowly. My hands were steady. I sat down at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. I pulled up Kyle Harmon's profile again. I clicked through his connections. Megan was listed. So were 30 other people from her company. I scrolled through his recent posts, corporate motivation quotes, HR policy updates, a photo from a charity event 2 months ago. He was standing in a group of 5 people. Megan was on the left side of the photo. She was smiling. Her hand was on his shoulder. I zoomed in. The photo was tagged. I clicked the tag. It led to the charity page. Riverside Community Foundation. I recognized the name. Megan was on their board. She'd been treasurer for 2 years. I clicked through to the foundation's website. I found the board member list. Megan's photo was there. Kyle Harmon was listed as a major donor. I opened a new tab. I searched for the foundation's meeting schedule. They posted public agendas every month. I found March. 3 meetings listed, March 5th, March 12th, March 19th. All scheduled for 7 to 9 p.m. All held at Riverside Community Center, Room 4. I cross-referenced the dates with Megan's calendar. March 5th was blank. March 12th was blank. March 19th was blank. I checked my phone. I scrolled back to her texts from those nights. March 5th, committee meeting running late. March 12th, still at the charity thing. Leah's watching the baby. March 19th, board stuff. Don't wait up. I leaned back in the chair. She'd used the charity meetings as cover, but the meetings ended at 9. The doorbell entries were after 11. The restaurant charges were after 10. She wasn't at the meetings. Or she was leaving early, with Kyle. I opened a new document. I typed the meeting dates. I added the doorbell times next to each one. March 5th, meeting 7 to 9, entry 11:15 p.m. March 12th, meeting 7 to 9, entry 11:40 p.m. March 19th, meeting 7 to 9, entry 12:10 a.m. 2-hour gaps. Enough time for dinner, enough time for whatever came after. I saved the document. Then I checked the foundation's contact page. There was a phone number for the main office. I wrote it down. I would call tomorrow. I needed to confirm she actually attended those meetings. I needed to know if she left early. I needed a neutral witness. I closed the laptop. I checked the time. 9:30 p.m. Megan hadn't come back. I didn't know where she went. I didn't call her. I walked to the bedroom. Her side of the bed was still made. I lay down on top of the covers. I stared at the ceiling. Sleep didn't come. At 11 p.m., I heard the front door open. I didn't get up. I heard her walk through the living room. She stopped outside the bedroom door. The doorknob turned. The door opened. Light from the hallway fell across the bed. I didn't move. Daniel, she said. I didn't answer. I know you're awake. I turned my head slightly. She was standing in the doorway. Her arms were crossed. Her face was in shadow. Can we talk? She said. I sat up. I turned on the lamp on the nightstand. She squinted in the light. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. What do you want to talk about? I said. She walked into the room. She sat on the edge of the bed. She didn't look at me. I made a mistake, she said. I waited. I shouldn't have lied about Leah babysitting. I got the dates mixed up. I'm sorry. What about the other dates? She looked at me. What other dates? March 5th, March 19th, March 26th. You said you were at charity meetings, but you came home after midnight. Meetings end at 9. Her face went pale. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She started. I was out with some of the board members afterward. We got dinner. Where? She hesitated. I don't remember. Somewhere downtown. I pulled my phone out of my pocket. I opened the bank app. I showed her the screen. 3 charges. Harborview Grill, all after 10 p.m., all on meeting nights. This restaurant, I said. She stared at the screen, then at me. You're tracking my spending now, she said. Her voice was sharp. It's a shared account, I said. I can see the charges. So you're spying on me. I'm looking at our bank statements. That's not spying. She stood up. She walked to the closet. She grabbed a sweater off a hanger. This is insane, she said. You're acting like I'm doing something wrong. Are you? She turned around. No, she said. I'm not. Who are you having dinner with? She didn't answer right away. Then she said, board members. Like I told you. Names. She pulled the sweater over her head. Why does it matter? Because you lied about Leah. You lied about the meeting times. And now you can't tell me who you were with. She grabbed her phone off the dresser. I'm not doing this, she said. I'm not standing here while you interrogate me. I didn't move. Was Kyle Harmon at those dinners? I said. She froze. Her hand was on the door frame. She turned slowly. How do you know his name? She said. He's listed as a donor on the charity website. He works at your company. He's the HR director. She stared at me. So was he at those dinners? She looked away. Sometimes, she said quietly. He's a major donor. He comes to a lot of events. Was he at those 3 dinners? Yes or no? She didn't answer. I stood up. I walked to the dresser. I opened the top drawer. I pulled out the printed timeline. I unfolded it. I held it up. March 5th, March 12th, March 19th, Harborview Grill, late charges, doorbell entries after midnight, and Kyle Harmon's name in the visitor log. 5 times in 3 weeks. Her face went white. She took a step back. You went through the building logs, she whispered. I'm the building superintendent. It's my job to check logs. You're checking on me. I'm checking on who's entering my apartment after midnight. She shook her head. She sat down on the bed. She put her face in her hands. This isn't what you think, she said. What do I think? She looked up. Her eyes were wet again. You think I'm cheating? Are you? She didn't answer. She just stared at me. Then she stood up. She walked to the door. I need some air, she said. She left. I heard the front door close. I folded the timeline and put it back in the drawer. Then I lay down on the bed again. I didn't turn off the lamp. I just stared at the wall. At 1 a.m., she still wasn't back. I got up and walked to the kitchen. I made coffee. I sat at the table with my laptop. I opened the Charity Foundation's website again. I clicked on the contact page. I found the executive director's email. I drafted a message. I kept it short. Hello? My name is Daniel Trace. My wife Megan serves on your board. I'm trying to confirm her attendance at the March meetings. Could you send me the sign-in sheets or meeting minutes for March 5th, 12th, and 19th? Thank you. I read it twice, then I deleted it. Too direct. It would raise questions. I needed another approach. I closed the laptop. I pulled out my phone. I called the building's day shift doorman. His name was Carlos. He answered on the fourth ring. His voice was groggy. Carlos, it's Daniel. Sorry to wake you. Daniel, what's wrong? It's 1 a.m. I need a favor. Can you check the visitor logs for Unit 8C when you come in tomorrow? I need to know if anyone else signed in besides Kyle Harmon in the last month. There was a pause. Why? Just doing a security audit. I need to make sure all late visitors were logged properly. Another pause. Okay, he said. I'll check in the morning. Thanks. I owe you. I hung up. I sat back in the chair. I sipped the coffee. It was too hot. I set it down and waited for it to cool. At 2 a.m., the front door opened. Megan walked in. She looked exhausted. She didn't say anything. She went straight to the bedroom. I heard the door close. I stayed at the table. I opened the laptop again. I searched for family law mediators in the city. I found 3 with good reviews. I wrote down their names and phone numbers. Then I closed the laptop. I finished the coffee. It was cold now. I rinsed the cup and left it in the sink. I walked to the couch. I lay down without a blanket. I closed my eyes. At 6 a.m., my phone buzzed. I checked the screen. It was a text from Leah. I opened it. I couldn't sleep. I keep thinking about last night. Did Megan come back? Are you okay? I typed a reply. She came back. I'm okay. Thanks for asking. Her response came immediately. Do you want to talk? I can come by. I thought about it. Then I typed. Not yet. I'll call you when I'm ready. Okay, I'm here if you need me. I put the phone down. I stood up and stretched. My back hurt. I walked to the bathroom and showered. I got dressed. Dark pants, gray shirt, boots. I checked the bedroom door. It was still closed. I didn't knock. I left the apartment and took the elevator down to the lobby. Carlos was at the desk. He looked up when I walked over. Morning, he said. Morning. You check those logs. He nodded. He pulled out a folder. He opened it and handed me a printed page. I scanned it. Kyle Harmon's name appeared 5 times. No one else had signed in late for Unit 8C in the past month. Thanks, I said. Daniel, he said. Is everything okay? I looked at him. Yeah, I said. Just routine. He didn't look convinced, but he nodded. I folded the page and put it in my pocket. I walked to the service elevator. I rode it down to the basement. I had work to do, boiler checks, valve inspections, tenant requests. I worked for 3 hours without stopping. At 10 a.m., I took a break. I sat on a metal stool in the utility room. I pulled out my phone. I called the first mediator on my list. A woman answered. Holloway Mediation. This is Emma. Hi, my name is Daniel Trace. I'd like to schedule a consultation for a separation case. Of course. Can you come in this week? I checked my phone calendar. How about Friday afternoon? Friday at 3 works. Can I get some basic information? I gave her my name and contact details. She asked if my spouse would be attending. I said not for the first session. She said that was fine. She scheduled me for 3 p.m. on Friday. I thanked her and hung up. I sat on the stool for another minute. Then I stood up and went back to work. I replaced a leaking pipe on the 4th floor. I reset a breaker in the electrical room. I answered 2 tenant calls about heating issues. I worked until noon. Then I went back to the apartment. Megan was gone. There was a note on the kitchen counter. Going to work. We need to talk tonight. I crumpled the note and threw it in the trash. I made a sandwich. I ate it standing by the window. I looked down at the parking lot. Her car was gone. I checked my phone. No messages. I opened my laptop. I added a new entry to the evidence folder. Carlos visitor log. Kyle Harmon only. 5 entries. No one else. I saved it. Then I printed a copy. I put it in a clear sleeve with the date. I stacked it with the other documents on my desk. The pile was growing. I checked the time. 12:30 p.m. I had 2.5 days until the mediation appointment. I needed more evidence. I needed witnesses. I needed to confirm the charity meeting story. I picked up my phone. I dialed the foundation's main office number. A woman answered. Riverside Community Foundation. How can I help you? Hi, my name is Daniel Trace. I'm calling to confirm some meeting dates for my wife. She's on your board. Megan Trace. Oh, yes. Megan, what do you need? I'm updating our family calendar. Can you confirm she attended the March 5th, 12th, and 19th board meetings? There was a pause. Let me check our attendance records. Can you hold? Sure. The line went quiet. I waited. 2 minutes passed. Then she came back. Okay, she said. I have the records here. Megan attended March 5th. She signed in at 7:10 and signed out at 7:50. She did not attend March 12th or 19th. She sent apologies both times. I wrote it down on a notepad. She signed out at 7:50 on March 5th. Yes? And she didn't attend the other two. Correct. Is there a problem? No, I said. Just updating our records. Thank you. You're welcome. I hung up. I stared at the notepad. She lied. She wasn't at the meetings. She left the one she did attend after 40 minutes. The charges at Harborview Grill started at 10 p.m. The doorbell entries were after 11. She was with Kyle. I added the information to the evidence document. Then I printed it. I put it in a sleeve. I stacked it with the others. The pile was thicker now. I closed the laptop. I checked my phone. Still no messages from Megan. I didn't text her. I sat at the table and waited. I spent the rest of Tuesday afternoon in the basement. I fixed a water heater on the 3rd floor. I replaced light bulbs in the parking garage. I avoided the apartment. At 4 p.m., Carlos called me. He said a package arrived for Unit 8C. I told him to leave it at the desk. I didn't go up to get it. At 6 p.m., I finished my shift. I rode the elevator to the 8th floor. I stood outside the apartment door for a minute. I could hear music inside. I unlocked the door and walked in. Megan was in the kitchen. She was cooking something on the stove. She turned when she heard me. Hey, she said. Her voice was careful. Hey. I made dinner, chicken and rice. I thought we could eat together. I looked at the table. It was set for 2. Plates, forks, napkins folded neatly. She was trying. Okay, I said. I went to the bedroom and changed out of my work clothes. I put on jeans and a t-shirt. When I came back, she was plating the food. She carried both plates to the table. I sat down. She sat across from me. We ate in silence for a few minutes. The chicken was dry. The rice was bland. She kept glancing at me. I didn't look up. Daniel, she said finally. I set my fork down. I know you're upset, and I know I haven't been completely honest with you, but I want to fix this. I picked up my water glass. I took a sip. Then I set it down. Okay, I said. Fix it. She looked at me. I need you to understand that work has been really stressful. Kyle has been helping me with a promotion. We've had to meet after hours sometimes. It's not what you think. You told me you were at charity meetings. I was. Some of them. Which ones? She hesitated. March 5th. The foundation office said you signed out at 7:50 that night. Her face went pale. You called them. I needed to update our family calendar. You weren't answering my questions. She looked down at her plate. So you went behind my back. I went to a public organization and asked about public meeting records. She pushed her plate away. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You don't trust me, should I? She didn't answer. She stood up and walked to the sink. She turned on the water. She rinsed her plate. Her shoulders were tight. Kyle is my boss, she said quietly. He controls promotions. He controls terminations. If I don't keep him happy, I could lose my job. I stood up. I walked over to her. So you're keeping him happy by having dinner with him 3 times. On our shared account? She turned off the water. She didn't turn around. It's not like that. Then what is it like? She was silent for a long time. Then she said, He's helping me get ahead. That's all. By coming to our apartment 5 times after midnight. She spun around. How do you know that? I showed her the visitor log printout. I pulled it from my pocket. It was folded in half. I unfolded it and held it up. Kyle Harmon. 5 entries. All after 11 p.m. All in the last month. Her hands were shaking. You're checking visitor logs now. It's my job. I check every log for every unit. That's building security protocol. You're not checking for security. You're checking on me. I folded the paper and put it back in my pocket. Both can be true. She turned back to the sink. She gripped the edge of the counter. I could see her reflection in the window. Her eyes were closed. Daniel, she whispered, please stop. Stop what? Stop digging. Stop checking logs. Stop calling the foundation. Just stop. I walked back to the table. I picked up my plate. I carried it to the sink and rinsed it. Then I dried my hands on the towel. I looked at her. I can't stop, I said. Why not? Because you're lying. and I need to know the truth." She opened her eyes. She looked at me in the reflection. "The truth is that I'm trying to get promoted. The truth is that Kyle has been helping me. The truth is that we've had dinners and meetings and late-night strategy sessions. That's it. That's all it is." I leaned against the counter. "Does he come inside when he drops you off?" She didn't answer. "Does he?" "Sometimes," she said. "For a few minutes." "What do you do for those few minutes?" She turned around. Her face was red. "We talk. We have a drink. Then he leaves. That's it. At 1 in the morning." She crossed her arms. "Yes, at 1 in the morning. Because that's when we finish dinner. Because that's when the conversations end. Because that's when he drives me home. Why doesn't he drop you off at the curb?" She looked away. "Because it's cold. Because it's late. Because he's being polite. Polite is dropping you at the curb. Coming upstairs 5 times is something else." She walked past me toward the bedroom. "I'm done with this conversation," she said. I didn't follow her. I stayed in the kitchen. I heard the bedroom door close. I opened my laptop on the table. I pulled up the bank account again. I scrolled back further. Past March, into February, into January. I found 2 more charges at Harborview Grill. January 17th, February 7th, both late nights, both Fridays. I took screenshots. I saved them to the evidence folder. Then I checked her work calendar for those dates. Both blank. I checked my text history with her. January 17th, working late. Client presentation tomorrow. February 7th, team dinner. Don't wait up. I added both dates to the timeline document. Then I printed a new version. 7 dinners now, 7 lies, 7 late nights. I closed the laptop. I walked to the living room. I lay down on the couch. I didn't turn on the TV. I just stared at the ceiling. At midnight, I heard the bedroom door open. Megan walked into the living room. She stood next to the couch. I didn't sit up. "Are you going to sleep out here again?" she asked. "Yeah." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I don't know how to fix this if you won't talk to me." I turned my head. I looked at her. "You could start by telling me the truth." "I am telling you the truth." "No, you're not." "You told me you were at charity meetings. You weren't. You told me you were working late. You weren't. You told me Leah babysat. She didn't. Every time I check your story, it falls apart." She sat down on the edge of the couch. Her voice was softer now. "I know I messed up the dates. I'm sorry. But I'm not lying about Kyle. He's helping me with my career, that's all. Why does he need to come inside at 1 in the morning?" She looked at her hands. "Because we're friends. Because we work together. Because he's mentoring me. Friends don't lie to their spouses 7 times. She stood up. Her voice was sharp again. "I didn't lie 7 times. You're twisting everything. January 17th, February 7th, March 5th, 12th, 19th, 26th, and last Friday. That's 7. She stared at me. "You went back to January." "I went back as far as the bank records go." She shook her head. She walked back to the bedroom. The door closed hard. I turned onto my side. I pulled the blanket over my shoulder. I closed my eyes. On Wednesday morning, I woke up early. Megan was already gone. No note this time. I made coffee and sat at the table. I pulled out my phone. I called Emma Holloway, the mediator. Holloway Mediation. "Hi, Emma. This is Daniel Trace." "I have an appointment Friday at 3. Yes. Is everything okay? I was wondering if I could move it up. Is there anything available sooner? Let me check." She paused. "I have an opening tomorrow at 10 a.m. Would that work?" "Yes." "I'll take it. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow at 10. "Do you have the address?" "I do. Thanks." I hung up. I opened my laptop. I sent an email to my supervisor. I requested a personal day for Thursday. He replied within 5 minutes. "Approved." I closed the laptop. I spent Wednesday working a double shift. I avoided the apartment until late. When I finally went home, Megan was asleep. I didn't wake her. I slept on the couch again. On Thursday morning, I got up at 7. I showered and dressed in clean clothes. Jeans, a button-down shirt, my good jacket. I left the apartment at 8:30. I drove across town to Emma Holloway's office. The office was in a small building near the courthouse. 2nd floor, I took the stairs. The waiting room was empty. A receptionist sat behind a desk. She smiled when I walked in. "Daniel Trace?" I said. She nodded. "Emma will be right with you. You can have a seat." I sat in one of the chairs by the window. I looked out at the street, cars passing, people walking, normal morning. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Megan. "Where are you?" I typed back. Out. Running errands. Her reply came fast. We need to talk tonight. I didn't respond. I put the phone back in my pocket. A door opened. A woman in her late 40s stepped out. She had short gray hair and glasses. She wore a black blazer and carried a tablet. Daniel, she said. I stood up. That's me. I'm Emma. Come on back. I followed her into her office. It was small but organized. A desk, 2 chairs, a bookshelf full of legal texts. She gestured to one of the chairs. I sat down. She sat across from me. So, she said, you mentioned on the phone that you're considering separation. Yes. Can you tell me a little about what's going on? I pulled out my phone. I opened the photos. I showed her the timeline document. She took the phone and read it carefully. She didn't say anything for a minute. Then she handed it back. This is very detailed, she said. I like to keep records. She nodded. How long have you been married? 8 years. Any children? 1. A son. He's 5. And you believe your wife is having an affair with this Kyle Harmon. I believe she's lying about where she is and who she's with. Multiple times, over several months. Emma typed something on her tablet. Have you confronted her? Yes. She says it's work-related. She says he's mentoring her for a promotion. Do you believe that? I paused. No, I don't. Why not? Because mentors don't come to your apartment 5 times at 1 in the morning, and they don't take you to expensive dinners 7 times without your spouse knowing. Emma nodded slowly. Have you documented all of this? Yes. May I see the documentation? I pulled out a folder from my jacket. Inside were printed copies of everything. Doorbell log, visitor log, bank statements, text screenshots, calendar conflicts, foundation attendance records. I handed the folder to her. She opened it and went through each page slowly. This is extremely thorough, she said. I work in building security. I'm used to keeping records. She set the folder on her desk. Daniel, I'm going to be direct with you. This level of documentation is going to be very useful if we proceed with a separation, but I need to ask you something. What's your goal here? I want custody of my son. I want a fair division of assets. And I want this on record. On record meaning. I want it documented that she lied repeatedly. I want it documented that she prioritized her relationship with Kyle Harmon over her family. I want it in the official file. Emma leaned back in her chair. She looked at me for a long moment. You understand that family court doesn't punish infidelity the way people think it does. It's a civil matter. The focus is on the child's best interest. I understand. But a pattern of deception affects the child. If she's lying to me about where she is, she's lying to him too. That affects his stability. Emma nodded. That's a reasonable argument. And this documentation supports it. She tapped the folder, especially the timeline and the witness statements. I don't have formal witness statements yet. You have the foundation attendance records. You have the doorman logs. Those are neutral third parties. That's as good as witness statements in civil court. I nodded. She opened her calendar on the tablet. I'd like to schedule a joint session with you and your wife. That's the next step. We'll go over the separation terms and discuss custody arrangements. Does next week work? Yes. She typed something. How about Wednesday at 2 p.m.? That works. Good. I'll send an email to both of you confirming the appointment. She looked up at me. Daniel, I need to prepare you for something. Your wife is going to be defensive. She may deny everything. She may try to shift blame. My job is to keep the session focused on facts and on what's best for your son. Can you stay calm during that process? Yes. Good. Bring this folder with you, and if you gather any additional documentation between now and then, bring that too. I will. She stood up. I stood up too. We shook hands. I'll see you next Wednesday, she said. Thank you. I left the office and walked back to my car. I sat in the driver's seat for a minute. I checked my phone. 3 texts from Megan. Where are you? Daniel, answer me. I'm calling your supervisor. This is ridiculous. I put the phone in the cup holder. I started the car and drove home. When I got back to the apartment, it was almost noon. Megan's car was in the parking lot. I took the stairs instead of the elevator. I needed a few extra minutes. I walked slowly down the hallway. I stopped outside the door. I could hear her voice inside. She was on the phone. Her tone was sharp. I unlocked the door and walked in. She was standing by the window. She turned when she heard me. She held up one finger. Wait. She spoke into the phone. I have to go. I'll call you back. She hung up and put the phone in her pocket. Where were you? She said. I had an appointment. What kind of appointment? Personal business? She crossed her arms. You took a personal day and didn't tell me. Your supervisor said you requested it yesterday. I did. Why? I told you. Personal business. She walked toward me. Her face was red. Are you seeing a lawyer? I walked past her to the kitchen. I opened the fridge. I pulled out a bottle of water. I didn't answer her question. Daniel, she said. Are you seeing a lawyer? I turned around. I'm seeing a mediator. She went very still. A mediator. Yes. For what? For separation. She stared at me. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. You filed for separation. Not yet? I'm preparing to. Without talking to me first. I've been talking to you. You keep lying. She shook her head. She sat down at the table. She put her head in her hands. This is insane, she whispered. I sat down across from her. I set the water bottle on the table. I didn't open it. I just looked at her. When's the appointment? She asked. Next Wednesday, 2 p.m. You'll get an email from the mediator today. She looked up. Her eyes were wet. You're really doing this? Yes, because of Kyle. Because of the lying. Because of 7 dinners I didn't know about. Because of 5 late-night visits. Because you told me your sister was babysitting when she wasn't. Because you said you were at charity meetings when you left after 40 minutes. Because every time I check your story, it doesn't match the facts. She wiped her eyes. I made mistakes with the dates. I already told you that. You didn't make mistakes. You lied. There's a difference. She stood up. She walked to the counter. She leaned against it. Her back was to me. What do you want from me? She said. I want the truth. I've told you the truth. No. You've told me a version that you think I'll accept. That's not the same thing. She turned around. Fine. You want the truth? Here it is. Kyle and I have been working closely on a project. He's been mentoring me. We've had dinners. We've had late-night conversations. He's come up here a few times. But nothing happened. We didn't sleep together. We didn't kiss. We're colleagues. That's it. I pulled out my phone. I opened the photos. I scrolled to the doorbell footage. I held it up. This is from March 12th. You and Kyle entering the building at 11:40 p.m. You're laughing. His hand is on your back. She looked at the screen. So what? Friends touch each other. I swiped to the next video. March 19th, you're unlocking the door. He's standing close behind you. His hand is on your waist. She looked away. That doesn't mean anything. I swiped again. March 26th, you're in the hallway. He's leaning against the wall. You're standing between his legs. Your hand is on his chest. She grabbed the phone from my hand. She stared at the screen. Then she handed it back. You've been recording me, she said. Her voice was shaking. The building has security cameras in every hallway. You know that. You saved the footage. I saved what was relevant. She sat back down. She put her face in her hands again. This is a nightmare, she said. I put the phone on the table. Megan, I said, just tell me the truth. She didn't look up. I can't. Why not? Because you'll leave. I'm already leaving. She looked up. Her face was wet. Please don't. I didn't say anything. Please, she said again. I'll fix this. I'll stop seeing Kyle outside of work. I'll be home on time. I'll show you my schedule every day. Just please don't leave. I leaned back in the chair. It's not about the schedule. It's about trust, and I don't trust you anymore. She reached across the table. She grabbed my hand. Daniel, please. I made mistakes. But I love you. I love our son. I don't want to lose you. I pulled my hand away. You should have thought about that before. She started crying. She put her head down on the table. Her shoulders were shaking. I stood up. I walked to the bedroom. I closed the door behind me. I sat on the edge of the bed. I could still hear her crying in the kitchen. I pulled out my phone. I opened the evidence folder. I added a note. Thursday, March 28th. Wife admits to multiple dinners and late-night visits with Kyle Harmon. Claims nothing physical happened. Footage shows intimate body language. Credibility low. I saved the note. Then I lay back on the bed. I stared at the ceiling. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Emma Holloway. Confirmation email sent to both parties. See you Wednesday at 2 p.m. Let me know if you need anything before then. I typed back. Thank you. I closed my eyes. I heard the front door open and close. I sat up. I walked to the window. Megan was getting into her car. She backed out of the spot and drove away. I watched until her car disappeared around the corner. I went back to the kitchen. I opened my laptop. I pulled up Kyle Harmon's profile again. I clicked through to his company page. I found the HR department contact form. I opened a new email draft. I typed carefully. To whom it may concern. I am writing to report a potential conflict of interest involving Kyle Harmon, HR Director, and Megan Trace, Marketing Associate. They have been meeting outside of work hours on multiple occasions, including late-night visits to Ms. Trace's residence. Mr. Harmon has been assisting Ms. Trace with a promotion which may constitute a violation of company policy regarding supervisor-subordinate relationships. I am providing this information for your review. Attached are relevant documents including meeting times, financial records, and building entry logs. Respectfully, Daniel Trace. I attached the timeline document. I attached the bank statements. I attached the visitor logs. I read the email 3 times. Then I saved it as a draft. I didn't send it yet. I wanted to wait until after the mediation session. I wanted to see if Megan would tell the truth first. I closed the laptop. I made a sandwich. I ate it standing by the sink. Then I went down to the basement. I spent the afternoon fixing a broken washer in the laundry room. I replaced a circuit breaker on the 6th floor. I changed air filters in the ventilation system. I worked until 7 p.m. When I came back upstairs, Megan's car was in the lot. I went to the apartment. She was sitting on the couch. The TV was on, but the sound was muted. She looked up when I walked in. "Can we talk?" she said. I closed the door. I walked to the kitchen. I got a glass of water. Then I sat down in the chair across from her. "I talked to Kyle today," she said. "Okay." I told him about the mediation. I told him you have footage and logs. I told him you're documenting everything. "What did he say?" She looked down at her hands. "He said he can't help me anymore. He said it's too risky. He said I need to handle this on my own." I drank the water. I didn't say anything. She looked up. "He's afraid you're going to report him to HR." I set the glass down. "Should I?" She shook her head quickly. "No. Please don't. He didn't do anything wrong. He came to our apartment 5 times after midnight. He had 7 dinners with you that I didn't know about. He put his hands on you in the hallway. That's not nothing." She stood up. She walked to the window. "If you report him, he'll lose his job, and I'll lose mine. They'll fire both of us for violating policy." "What policy?" She turned around. "The company has rules about supervisors and subordinates. We're not allowed to have personal relationships. Even if it's just mentoring. Even if nothing physical happened. So you did violate policy." She nodded. "Technically, yes. And you knew that when you started having dinners with him?" She didn't answer. I stood up. I walked to the door. "I'm going to bed," I said. "Daniel, wait." I stopped. I didn't turn around. "Please don't report him," she said. "Please, I'm begging you. I'll think about it." I walked to the bedroom. I closed the door. I lay down on the bed. I heard her crying in the living room again. I didn't go back out. On Friday morning, I woke up early. Megan was on the couch. I walked past her without speaking. I showered and dressed. I left the apartment at 7. I drove to a coffee shop downtown. I sat by the window with my laptop. I pulled up the email draft to HR. I read it again. I thought about what Megan said. If I sent it, she would lose her job. Kyle would lose his job. It would be on record. It would be in his file and her file. It would follow them. I closed the laptop. I wasn't ready to send it yet. I wanted to use it as leverage. I wanted to see what happened at the mediation first. If she told the truth, maybe I wouldn't send it. If she kept lying, I would. I finished my coffee. I drove to a print shop. I made 3 copies of the entire evidence folder. I put each copy in a sealed envelope. I labeled them, one for Emma Holloway, one for my personal records, one for HR if needed. I drove back to the apartment. Megan's car was gone. I put the envelopes in my desk drawer. I locked it. Then I went down to the basement and started my shift. At noon, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Leah. Mom called me. She said Megan is really upset. She said you're filing for separation. "Is that true?" I texted back. "Yes." Her reply came fast. "Do you want to talk?" "Not yet. I'll call you after the mediation." "Okay. I'm here if you need me." I put the phone away. I went back to work. At 4 p.m., I got a call from Emma Holloway. "Daniel," she said, "I just got off the phone with your wife." "Okay. She's very upset. She's asking if we can postpone the mediation. What did you tell her?" I told her that both parties need to agree to a postponement. "Do you want to postpone?" "No." "Then we're still on for Wednesday at 2. "Good." She paused. "Daniel, I need to tell you something. Your wife said some things on the call that concern me." "Like what?" "She said you've been spying on her. She said you've been tracking her movements. She said you've been checking her bank accounts and her work calendar without permission. I have access to the bank account. It's a joint account. I have access to the calendar. It's a shared calendar. And I check building security logs as part of my job. I'm not spying. I'm looking at information I'm legally allowed to see. Emma was quiet for a moment. Okay, she said. That's what I thought. But I wanted to hear it from you. She's going to try to frame this as harassment. I need you to be prepared for that. I understand. Good. See you Wednesday? I hung up. I sat down on the basement stairs. I put my head in my hands. I was tired. I was tired of the lying, tired of the fighting, tired of checking logs and timelines and bank statements. I just wanted it to be over. I stood up. I walked back to the utility room. I finished my shift. At 6 p.m., I went back to the apartment. Megan was there. She was sitting at the kitchen table. She had a glass of wine in front of her. She looked up when I walked in. We need to talk about Wednesday, she said. I sat down across from her. Okay. I don't think I can do it, she said. I don't think I can sit in a room with a mediator and go through all of this. You don't have a choice. It's scheduled. She took a sip of wine. What are you going to tell her? The truth? Your version of the truth. No, the actual truth. With documentation. She set the glass down. You're going to destroy me. I leaned back in the chair. You destroyed yourself. She stared at me. Then she picked up the glass and walked to the bedroom. The door closed behind her. I sat at the table alone. I pulled out my phone. I opened the HR email draft one more time. I read it, then I closed it. Not yet. I stood up. I walked to the couch. I lay down. I closed my eyes. 4 more days until the mediation. 4 more days until everything came out. I just had to wait. On Saturday morning, I woke up to silence. The apartment was empty. Megan's car was gone. I checked my phone. No messages. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table. I opened my laptop and reviewed the evidence folder one more time. Everything was organized. Everything was documented. I closed the laptop. I spent the day working. I replaced a broken lock on the second floor. I fixed a leaking faucet in Unit 5B. I helped a tenant move a couch into the freight elevator. I stayed busy. When I finished at 6 p.m., I went back to the apartment. Megan still wasn't home. I made dinner, just pasta and sauce from a jar. I ate at the table. I washed the dishes. I sat on the couch and turned on the TV. I didn't watch it. I just stared at the screen. At 9 p.m., I heard the front door open. Megan walked in. She looked exhausted. Where were you? I asked. She set her purse on the counter. At my mom's, all day, yes. She wanted to talk. About what? About us. About the separation. About everything. I turned off the TV. What did you tell her? She sat down on the other end of the couch. I told her the truth, that you're convinced I'm having an affair, that you've been documenting everything, that we have a mediation appointment Wednesday. What did she say? She said I need to fight for my marriage. She said I need to prove to you that nothing happened with Kyle. I looked at her. Can you prove that? She met my eyes. Yes, I can. How? She pulled out her phone. She opened her messages. She scrolled through a conversation with Kyle. She handed me the phone. Read it, she said. I took the phone. I scrolled to the top of the conversation. It went back to January. Most of the messages were about work, project updates, meeting times, schedule changes. But there were other messages too. Personal ones. Kyle asking how she was doing, Megan saying she was stressed, Kyle offering to help, Megan thanking him. The messages got more frequent in February, more personal. By March, they were texting every day. I scrolled to the most recent messages. They were from yesterday. Megan had written, Daniel knows about the dinners. He has footage of you at the apartment. He's filing for separation. Kyle's response, I can't be involved in this. You need to handle it yourself. I'm sorry. I handed the phone back. This doesn't prove nothing happened. It just proves you were texting him constantly. She put the phone in her pocket. We were friends. That's all. Friends don't text each other 50 times a day. We were working together. We were close. But we didn't cross any lines. I stood up. I walked to the window. I looked out at the parking lot. You crossed lines, I said. Maybe not physical ones. But you crossed them. She stood up too. She walked over to me. Daniel, I know I messed up. I know I should have told you about the dinners. I know I should have been honest about Kyle. But I didn't cheat on you. I didn't sleep with him. I didn't kiss him. I didn't do anything physical. I turned around. What about emotional? She looked down. I don't know what you mean. You were emotionally involved with him. You were closer to him than you were to me. You shared things with him that you didn't share with me. That's a kind of cheating, too. She shook her head. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? She sat back down on the couch. She pulled her knees to her chest. I was lonely, she said quietly. You work nights. You're always tired. We never talk anymore. Kyle was there. He listened. He made me feel important. I sat down in the chair. So this is my fault. No, that's not what I'm saying. It sounds like that's what you're saying. She wiped her eyes. I'm saying we both made mistakes. I should have talked to you instead of going to Kyle. But you should have noticed I was struggling. I noticed. I asked you if you were okay. You said you were fine. Because I didn't want to burden you, so you burdened Kyle instead. She didn't answer. I leaned forward. Megan, I don't think you understand what you did. You built a whole separate life with this man. You had dinners with him. You brought him here. You texted him constantly. You prioritized him over me. And now you're sitting here telling me it doesn't count because you didn't sleep with him. But it does count. It counts a lot. She started crying. I know, she whispered. I know I hurt you. I'm sorry. I stood up. Sorry doesn't fix this. Then what will? I don't know if anything will. I walked to the bedroom. I closed the door. I lay down on the bed. I could hear her crying in the living room. I didn't go back out. On Sunday morning, I woke up early. I left the apartment before Megan woke up. I drove to Leah's house. She lived 20 minutes away in a small duplex. I knocked on the door. She opened it in her robe. Her hair was messy. Daniel, she said, what are you doing here? I need to talk. She stepped aside. Come in. I walked into the living room. She closed the door. She sat on the couch. I sat in the chair across from her. What's going on? She asked. I told her everything, the dinners, the visitor logs, the text messages, the mediation appointment, the HR email draft. I talked for 20 minutes without stopping. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Then she said, Do you think she slept with him? I don't know. What does your gut tell you? I looked out the window. My gut tells me something happened. Maybe not sex, but something. Leah nodded. What are you going to do? I'm going to the mediation. I'm going to present the evidence. I'm going to ask for custody. And the HR email, I don't know yet. Part of me wants to send it. Part of me thinks it's too much. She leaned forward. Daniel, I love my sister. But she made her choices. If she violated company policy, that's on her, not on you. I know. So if you decide to send it, I don't feel guilty? I nodded. She stood up. She walked to the kitchen. She poured 2 cups of coffee. She brought one back to me. Have you talked to your son about any of this? She asked. No. He's only 5. I don't know how to explain it to him. You need to figure that out. Because he's going to notice when you and Megan aren't living together anymore. I know. She sat back down. Where is he now? With Megan's parents. He's been there since Friday. Good. Keep him there until after the mediation. He doesn't need to be around this. I sipped the coffee. It was strong. I set the cup down. Leah, can I ask you something? Sure. At the dinner last week, when you saw the timeline, did you believe Megan when she said she got the dates mixed up? She shook her head. No. I knew she was lying. She does this thing when she lies. She looks down and to the left. She's done it since we were kids. I sat back. I thought so. She looked at me. Daniel, do you still love her? I thought about it. I don't know, I said. I love the person I thought she was. But I don't know if that person exists anymore. Leah nodded. That's fair. I stood up. I should go. Thanks for listening. She walked me to the door. Call me after the mediation, she said. Let me know how it goes. I will. I drove back to the apartment. Megan's car was still gone. I went inside and sat at the kitchen table. I pulled out my phone. I called my son. Megan's mother answered. Daniel, she said. How are you? I'm okay. Is Jacob there? Yes. Hold on. I heard her call his name. A few seconds later, I heard his voice. Daddy. Hey, buddy. How are you? Good. Grandma made pancakes. That's great. Are you having fun? Yeah. When are you coming to get me? Soon. Maybe next weekend. Okay. Is Mommy coming too? I don't know yet. We'll see. Okay. I have to go. Grandma says it's time for cartoons. Okay. I love you. Love you too. He hung up. I set the phone down. I stared at it for a long time. At noon, Megan came home. She had grocery bags. She set them on the counter. She started putting things away. I watched her from the table. I went to see Jacob, she said. I know. I called him this morning. She stopped. She turned around. Why didn't you come with me? Because I didn't want to answer his questions in front of your parents. She closed the fridge. They're going to find out eventually. I know, but not yet. She sat down across from me. Daniel, what's going to happen to us? I don't know. Are we really getting separated? Probably. She looked down at the table. What about Jacob? We'll figure out custody. That's what the mediation is for. I don't want him to grow up in a broken home. You should have thought about that before. She stood up. She walked to the sink. Her shoulders were shaking. I'm trying, she said. I'm trying to fix this. But you won't let me. There's nothing to fix. It's already broken. She turned around. Her face was red. So that's it. You're just giving up? I'm not giving up. I'm protecting myself. And I'm protecting our son. From what? From more lies. She walked to the bedroom. She slammed the door. I sat at the table. I didn't move. After a while, I heard her on the phone. Her voice was low. I couldn't make out the words. The call lasted 10 minutes. Then it was quiet. I spent the rest of Sunday in the basement. I did inventory on supplies. I organized tools. I updated maintenance logs. I worked until midnight. When I went back upstairs, Megan was asleep on the couch. The TV was still on. I turned it off. I went to the bedroom. I closed the door and lay down. On Monday morning, I woke up to a text from Emma Holloway. Reminder. Mediation session on Wednesday, 6 p.m. Please bring all documentation. Let me know if you have questions. I texted back. I'll be there. I got up and showered. When I came out of the bathroom, Megan was awake. She was sitting at the table with coffee. 2 more days, she said. Yeah. Are you going to bring all the evidence? Yes. She looked at me. What if I admit everything at the session? What if I tell Emma the whole truth? Would that change anything? I poured my own coffee. I don't know. Maybe. She nodded slowly. Okay, I'll think about it. I left for work. I spent Monday doing routine checks, changing filters, testing smoke alarms, inspecting fire extinguishers. At lunch, I sat in the basement break room. I pulled out my phone. I opened the HR email draft again. I read it one more time. Then I made a decision. I wouldn't send it before the mediation, but I would bring a copy with me. If Megan lied during the session, I would send it immediately after. If she told the truth, I would hold on to it. Let her know it existed. Let her know I could send it any time. That would be leverage. I saved the draft. I closed my phone. On Tuesday, I worked a double shift. I avoided the apartment as much as possible. At 8 p.m., I finally went home. Megan was packing a bag. What are you doing? I asked. I'm staying at my mom's tonight. I can't be here right now. Okay. She zipped the bag. She walked to the door. She stopped and turned around. Daniel, I want you to know something. What? No matter what happens tomorrow, I did love you. I still do. I didn't say anything. She opened the door. She left. I heard her car start. I heard her drive away. I sat on the couch. I pulled out my phone. I set an alarm for tomorrow. 1 p.m. That would give me an hour to get to Emma's office. I put the phone down. I closed my eyes. Tomorrow everything would come out. Tomorrow Megan would either tell the truth or keep lying. Tomorrow I would know if there was anything left to save. I didn't think there was. But I would listen. I would let the mediator ask the questions. I would present the evidence. And then I would know. I opened my eyes. I stood up. I walked to my desk. I unlocked the drawer. I pulled out the 3 sealed envelopes. I checked each one. Evidence folder, timeline, logs, bank statements, text screenshots, calendar conflicts, foundation records, doorbell footage stills. Everything was there. I put the envelopes in my bag. I zipped it closed. Then I went to the bedroom. I set my alarm. I lay down. Tomorrow was Wednesday. Tomorrow was the mediation. Tomorrow was the day everything changed. I closed my eyes. This time sleep came. I woke up at 11 a.m. The apartment was still empty. Megan hadn't come back. I made coffee and toast. I ate standing by the window. The sky was gray. It looked like rain. I checked my phone. No messages. I showered and dressed carefully. Dark jeans, a clean button-down shirt, my good jacket. I wanted to look put together. I wanted to look calm. I packed the bag with the 3 envelopes. I added a notebook and a pen. I checked the time, 12:15. I left the apartment at 12:30. No, I drove across town to Emma's office. Traffic was light. I arrived at 1:40. I parked on the street. I sat in the car for a few minutes. I breathed slowly, in and out. I needed to stay calm. I needed to stay focused. At 1:50, I got out of the car. I walked to the building. I took the stairs to the second floor. The waiting room was empty. The receptionist smiled when I walked in. "You're early," she said. I nodded. I sat in the chair by the window. I set my bag on the floor. I pulled out my phone. I opened my notes. I reviewed the timeline one more time. 7 dinners, 5 late-night visits, 3 calendar conflicts, 2 witness contradictions, 1 sister's alibi broken, 1 foundation attendance record showing early departure. At 2 p.m., the door opened. Emma stepped out. She was wearing a gray suit. She held her tablet. "Daniel," she said, "come on back." I stood up. I grabbed my bag. I followed her into the office. Megan was already there. She was sitting in one of the chairs. She looked pale. Her eyes were red. She didn't look at me when I walked in. I sat in the other chair. Emma sat behind her desk. She set the tablet down. She looked at both of us. "Thank you both for coming," she said. "I know this is difficult. My goal today is to help you both move forward in a way that's fair and that prioritizes your son's well-being. Does that sound reasonable?" Megan nodded. I nodded. "Good. Let's start with the basics. Daniel, you've indicated that you want to pursue separation. Is that still your position?" "Yes." "Megan, how do you feel about that?" Megan looked at her hands. "I don't want a separation," she said quietly. "But I understand why Daniel does." Emma typed something on her tablet. "Okay. Daniel, can you tell me in your own words why you're seeking separation?" I pulled out the first envelope. I opened it. I handed Emma the timeline document. She took it and read it carefully. "My wife has been lying to me for months," I said. "She told me she was at charity meetings when she wasn't. She told me her sister was babysitting when she wasn't. She had 7 dinners with her boss that I didn't know about. He came to our apartment 5 times after midnight. Every time I check her story, it falls apart." Emma looked at Megan. "Is this accurate?" Megan's voice was shaking. "Some of it is accurate. But it's not what Daniel thinks." "What do you mean?" "I did have dinners with Kyle. I did see him outside of work, but nothing physical happened between us. We're colleagues. He was helping me with a promotion." Emma typed something. "Were these dinners disclosed to your husband at the time?" Megan shook her head. "No." "Why not?" "Because I knew he wouldn't understand. I knew he would think it was inappropriate." Emma looked at me. "Daniel, do you think it was inappropriate?" "Yes. She's married. He's her boss. They were meeting late at night without my knowledge. And he was coming to our home after midnight." Emma nodded. She looked back at Megan. "Why did Kyle come to your apartment?" Megan wiped her eyes. "Because we would finish dinner and he would give me a ride home. And sometimes we would talk for a few minutes before he left." "How long is a few minutes?" 10 or 15 minutes. "Not long." Emma made a note. "And what were you talking about during those visits?" "Work stuff, mostly. Strategy, politics at the office, how to position myself for the promotion. Did you ever invite him inside?" Megan hesitated. "Yes. A couple of times." "Why?" "Because it was late. Because it was cold. Because it seemed rude to make him stand in the hallway." Emma looked at me. "Daniel, do you have evidence of these visits?" I handed her the second envelope. Inside were printed stills from the doorbell footage. 5 images, each one showing Megan and Kyle in the hallway. Emma went through them slowly. She stopped on the third one, the image from March 26th. Megan standing between Kyle's legs, her hand on his chest. Emma held it up. "Megan, can you explain this?" Megan's face went red. "We were just talking. He was leaning against the wall. I was standing close because I didn't want the neighbors to hear." Emma set the image down. "This looks intimate." It wasn't. "We were just talking." Emma typed something. She looked at me. "Daniel, do you believe that?" "No. I think they were involved emotionally. Maybe not physically, but emotionally." Megan turned to me. Her voice was sharp now. "We were friends. That's all. You're making this into something it's not." I pulled out my phone. I opened the screenshots of her text messages with Kyle. I handed the phone to Emma. She scrolled through them. She didn't say anything for a minute. Then she looked at Megan. "You were texting him every day," Emma said, "sometimes multiple times a day. These messages are very personal. Because we were close. Because we worked together. Emma handed the phone back to me. Megan, I need to ask you something directly. Did you have a physical relationship with Kyle Harmon? Megan looked at me, then at Emma. No, I didn't. Did you kiss him? No. Did you hold hands? Hug? Any physical contact beyond what colleagues normally have? Megan's voice was barely a whisper. We hugged sometimes, when we said goodbye. But that's it. Emma made another note. She looked at me. Daniel, do you believe her? I don't know. I know she lied about everything else. So why would I believe this? Megan started crying. Because it's the truth. I swear it's the truth. Emma handed her a box of tissues. Megan took one. She wiped her eyes. Let's talk about your son. Emma said, Jacob is 5 years old. Correct? We both nodded. What custody arrangement are you proposing, Daniel? I want primary custody. I want Megan to have visitation, but I want it documented that she has a pattern of deception. I don't think she should make major decisions about his care right now. Megan looked at me. You're trying to take him away from me. I'm trying to protect him. If you lie to me, you'll lie to him. I don't lie to him. You lied about where you were. You lied about who you were with. He's going to notice that. Emma held up her hand. Let's stay focused. Megan, what custody arrangement do you want? I want joint custody. 50-50. I want us to share decisions. Emma looked at the timeline again. Megan, I need to tell you something. This documentation is very detailed. If we go to court, a judge is going to see this. And a pattern of deception does affect custody decisions. Not because of infidelity, but because it raises questions about stability and honesty. Megan looked down. So you're saying, I'm going to lose custody. I'm saying that if you can't provide a consistent, honest account of your actions, it will hurt your case. Megan was quiet. Then she looked at me. What do you want from me, Daniel? What will it take for you to believe me? I leaned forward. I want you to admit what really happened. Not just that you had dinners, not just that Kyle came over. I want you to admit that you prioritized him over me, that you built a relationship with him that crossed boundaries, that you emotionally checked out of our marriage. She was crying again. Okay, she whispered. Okay. I admit it. I was closer to Kyle than I should have been. I shared things with him that I should have shared with you. I looked forward to seeing him more than I looked forward to coming home. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Emma was typing quickly. She looked at Megan. Are you saying you had an emotional affair? Megan nodded slowly. Yes, I guess I did. The room went silent. Emma kept typing. I sat back in my chair. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not relief, not satisfaction, just exhaustion. Emma set the tablet down. She looked at both of us. Okay, we're making progress. Megan, I appreciate your honesty. Daniel, does this change your position on custody? I thought about it. I don't know yet, I said. I need time to process this. That's fair. Let's talk about next steps. I'm going to draft a preliminary separation agreement. It will include temporary custody arrangements. Megan, I'm recommending that Daniel have primary custody for the next 60 days while we work through this. You'll have visitation on weekends. After 60 days, we'll reassess. Megan nodded. She looked defeated. Emma continued. I'm also going to recommend that both of you attend individual counseling and that we schedule follow-up mediation sessions every 2 weeks. We both nodded. One more thing, Emma said. She looked at me. Daniel, do you plan to take any other action related to this situation? For example, reporting the relationship to Megan's employer. I pulled out the third envelope. I opened it. Inside was a printed copy of the HR email. I handed it to Emma. She read it. Then she looked at me. Have you sent this? Not yet. Do you plan to? I looked at Megan. That depends. On what? On whether she tells her company herself, or whether I have to do it for her. Megan's eyes went wide. Daniel, please. If you send that, I'll lose my job. Kyle will lose his job. You violated company policy. You said so yourself. I know. But please, let me handle it. Emma set the email down. Daniel, I can't tell you what to do. But I will say this. If you send that email now, it's going to make co-parenting much more difficult. Megan will be unemployed. That affects child support. That affects stability for your son. I looked at the email, then at Megan. I'm not sending it today, I said, but I'm keeping it. If you lie to me again, I'll send it immediately. Megan nodded quickly. Okay, I understand. Emma closed her tablet. I think that's enough for today. I'm going to draft the agreement. You'll both receive it by email tomorrow. Look it over. If you have questions, call me. We'll meet again in 2 weeks." We both stood up. Megan walked to the door first. She stopped and looked back at me. "Thank you for not sending it," she said quietly. I didn't respond. She left. Emma walked me to the door. "That was hard," she said, "but it was productive. You did well." "Thanks." "One more thing, Daniel. Be careful with that email. It's leverage right now, but if you use it, you can't take it back." "I know." I left the office. I walked down the stairs and out to my car. I sat in the driver's seat for a long time. I didn't start the engine, I just stared out the windshield. She admitted it. She finally admitted it. Emotional affair, those were her words. Not mine, hers. I pulled out my phone. I called Leah. "How did it go?" she asked. She admitted to an emotional affair. Leah was quiet for a second. "Wow. How do you feel?" "I don't know. Tired." "What happens now?" 60-day temporary custody arrangement. I get primary. She gets weekends. Then we reassess. That's good. That's what you wanted. "Yeah. Are you okay?" "I will be. Call me if you need anything. I will." I hung up. I started the car. I drove back to the apartment. When I got there, I sat in the parking lot for another 10 minutes. Then I went inside. The apartment was empty. I set my bag on the table. I pulled out the 3 envelopes. I looked at them. All that evidence. All those documents. All those hours of documentation. And in the end, all I needed was for her to admit the truth. I put the envelopes back in the desk drawer. I locked it. Then I walked to the couch. I lay down. I closed my eyes. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Megan. "I'm staying at my mom's until we finalize the agreement. I'll come by this weekend to get some clothes," I texted back. "Okay." Another text came through. "I'm sorry, Daniel, for everything." I didn't respond. I put the phone down. I stared at the ceiling. It was over. Not the way I expected. Not with a dramatic confrontation or a final blow-up, just with her finally admitting what I already knew. I closed my eyes again. Tomorrow I would pick up Jacob. Tomorrow I would start figuring out how to explain this to him. Tomorrow I would begin the next part. But today I just needed to rest. I fell asleep on the couch. When I woke up, it was dark outside. I woke up at 7 p.m. The apartment was dark. I turned on the lamp and checked my phone. There was an email from Emma Holloway. The subject line said, "Preliminary Separation Agreement." I opened it but didn't read it yet. I needed food first. I made scrambled eggs and toast. I ate at the table. Then I opened the email on my laptop. The agreement was 12 pages long. I read through it slowly. Temporary primary custody to Daniel Trace. Weekend visitation for Megan Trace. Joint legal custody with final decision-making authority to Daniel Trace in case of disagreement. Child support calculations based on current income. Division of assets to be determined at next session. Mandatory individual counseling for both parties. Follow-up mediation in 2 weeks. I scrolled to the bottom. There was a signature line for each of us. I printed 2 copies. I signed one. I put it in an envelope for Emma. The other copy I left on the table for my records. I closed the laptop. I called Megan's mother. She answered after 3 rings. "Daniel," she said. "How are you?" I'm okay. Is Jacob still there?" "Yes." "Do you want to talk to him?" "Actually, I was wondering if I could pick him up tomorrow morning. I know it's short notice." "Of course." "What time?" "Around 10." "That's fine." "Daniel, Megan told me about the mediation." "I'm so sorry." "Thank you." There was a pause. "She's devastated." "I know. Are you sure there's no way to work this out?" "I don't think so. Not right now." She sighed. "Okay. We'll see you tomorrow at 10. Thanks." I hung up. I sat at the table for a while. Then I texted Leah. "Picking up Jacob tomorrow morning. Going to tell him this weekend." Her response came fast. "Do you want me there when you tell him?" "No, I need to do it alone. But thanks." "Okay. Call me after if you need to talk." "I will." I put the phone down. I went to the bedroom. I looked at the closet. Half of Megan's clothes were still there. Her shoes lined up on the bottom rack. Her dresses hanging neatly. It all looked normal, but it wasn't normal anymore. I closed the closet door. I lay down on the bed. I stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow I would bring Jacob home. Tomorrow I would have to explain why his mother wasn't here. Tomorrow I would have to figure out how to make this okay for him. I closed my eyes. Sleep came eventually. I woke up at 8 a.m., I showered and dressed, I cleaned the apartment, I vacuumed, I wiped down the counters, I made Jacob's bed with fresh sheets. I wanted everything to feel normal when he got home. At 9:30, I left. I drove to Megan's parents' house. It was in a quiet neighborhood 20 minutes away. I parked in the driveway. Jacob was waiting by the window. He saw me and ran to the door. Megan's mother opened it. Jacob ran out and hugged my legs. Daddy, he shouted. Hey, buddy. I picked him up. I missed you. I missed you too. Are we going home? Yeah. Let's go home. Megan's mother handed me his backpack. She looked tired. Call if you need anything, she said. I will, thank you. Daniel, she said quietly. Please take care of him. I will. I carried Jacob to the car. I buckled him into his seat. He talked the whole drive home. He told me about the pancakes his grandma made, about the cartoons he watched, about the toys he played with. I listened and nodded. I didn't tell him anything yet. When we got home, he ran inside. He went straight to his room. I heard him playing with his toys. I stood in the living room. I didn't know how to start the conversation. I walked to his room. I knocked on the open door. Hey, buddy, can we talk for a minute? He looked up. Okay. I sat on the floor next to him. He was playing with toy cars. I picked one up and rolled it back and forth. I need to tell you something, I said, and it might be confusing, but I want you to know that everything is going to be okay. He looked at me. What is it? Mommy and I are going to live in different places for a while. Why? Because we need some time apart. Grown-ups do that sometimes. Is Mommy okay? Yes, she's okay. She's staying with Grandma right now. When is she coming home? She's going to come visit you, but she won't be living here for a little while. He set his car down. Did you have a fight? Sort of. But it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. He looked down at his toys. I don't want you to live in different places. I know, I'm sorry. But you're going to see both of us. You'll stay here with me during the week, and you'll go see Mommy on the weekends. Does that sound okay? He nodded slowly. Will Mommy still love me? Of course. She loves you so much. That's never going to change. He climbed into my lap. He put his head on my chest. I held him. We sat like that for a long time. Are you sad? He asked. A little bit. But I'm going to be okay. And you're going to be okay too. Okay. I kissed the top of his head. Do you want to watch a movie? Yeah. We went to the living room. I put on one of his favorite movies. He sat next to me on the couch. Halfway through, he fell asleep. I carried him to his bed. I covered him with a blanket. I stood in the doorway and watched him sleep. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Megan. Did you tell him? I typed back. Yes. How did he take it? He was sad. But he understands as much as a 5-year-old can. Can I call him tomorrow? Yes. Call in the morning. Thank you. I didn't respond. I went to the kitchen. I made dinner, just chicken and rice. Jacob woke up at 6. We ate together. He was quiet. After dinner, we played with his toys. At 8, I gave him a bath. At 8:30, I read him a story. At 9, I tucked him in. Will you be here when I wake up? He asked. Yes, I'll be here. Promise. I promise. He closed his eyes. I turned off the light. I left the door cracked open. I went back to the living room. I sat on the couch. I pulled out my phone. I opened the evidence folder. I looked at all the documents, the timelines, the logs, the screenshots. All of it felt heavy now. I closed the folder. I opened a new note. I typed, "Things Jacob needs to know when he's older." Then I stopped. I deleted it. He didn't need to know the details. He just needed to know we both loved him. I put the phone down. I turned on the TV. I didn't watch it. I just let it play in the background. At 10 p.m., my phone rang. It was Leah. How is he? She asked. He's okay. He's asleep now. How are you? Tired. Did Megan call him yet? Not yet. She's calling tomorrow morning. How do you feel about that? I don't know. I think it'll be good for him to hear her voice. Leah was quiet for a second. Daniel, I'm proud of you. You handled this really well. Thanks. Have you thought about what you're going to do next? What do you mean? I mean, after the 60 days? After the temporary custody period ends? I don't know yet. I guess it depends on how she does. If she's honest from here on out, maybe we can work something out. If she keeps lying, I'll push for permanent primary custody. That's fair. Yeah. We talked for a few more minutes. Then I told her I needed to get some sleep. She said goodnight. I hung up. I went to the bedroom. I lay down. I checked my phone one more time. There was a text from Megan. I know you're probably not interested in hearing this, but I started seeing a therapist today. I'm trying to figure out why I did what I did. I'm trying to be better. I stared at the text. Then I typed back, "That's good. I hope it helps." Her response came immediately. "Thank you for letting me call Jacob tomorrow. Of course, he's your son too." I put the phone on the nightstand. I turned off the lamp. I closed my eyes. The next morning, I woke up to Jacob jumping on the bed. He was laughing. I grabbed him and tickled him. He screamed and laughed harder. We went to the kitchen. I made pancakes. We ate at the table. At 9:30, my phone rang. It was Megan. I answered. "Hold on." I handed the phone to Jacob. "It's Mommy." His face lit up. He took the phone and ran to his room. I heard him talking, telling her about the pancakes, about the movie we watched, about the toys he played with. The call lasted 10 minutes. Then he came back and handed me the phone. "She wants to talk to you." I took the phone. I walked to the living room. "Yeah, thank you for letting me talk to him." Her voice was shaky. "Of course. He sounds happy. He's adjusting." "Daniel, I signed the separation agreement. I emailed it to Emma this morning." "Okay. I signed mine yesterday. So it's official now. 60 days. Yeah." She was quiet for a second. "I'm going to do everything Emma suggested. Therapy. Everything. I want to prove to you that I can change." "Okay. Do you think there's any chance we could work this out? After the 60 days? I don't know. I need time. I understand. I have to go." "Jacob needs breakfast cleaned up." "Okay. Can I call him again this weekend?" "Yes. Saturday morning. Thank you, Daniel." I hung up. I walked back to the kitchen. Jacob was at the table coloring. I sat down next to him. "Did you have a good talk with Mommy?" I asked. "Yeah. She said she misses me. She does. She loves you a lot." "When can I see her?" "Next weekend. You'll go stay with her for 2 days. At Grandma's house." "Probably. Or maybe she'll have her own place by then." He nodded. He kept coloring. I watched him. He seemed okay. Kids are resilient. That's what people always say. I hoped it was true. The rest of the day we stayed home. We played games. We watched another movie. We made dinner together. At night, I tucked him in again. He asked if I would be there when he woke up. I promised I would. After he fell asleep, I went to the living room. I opened my laptop. I pulled up the HR email draft one more time. I read it. Then I moved it to a folder labeled "Do Not Send Unless Necessary." I wasn't going to use it unless I had to. Megan was trying. I could see that. And as long as she kept trying, I would hold on to it. I closed the laptop. I checked my phone. There was a text from Emma. Both agreements received. Temporary custody order is now active. Next mediation session scheduled for 2 weeks from today. Let me know if you have questions, I texted back. Thanks. I put the phone down. I walked to Jacob's room. I stood in the doorway. He was asleep. His stuffed bear was tucked under his arm. I watched him for a minute. Then I went to my own room. I lay down. I stared at the ceiling. The last 2 weeks had been exhausting. The documentation, the confrontation, the mediation, the admission, and now this. A new normal. Just me and Jacob during the week. Megan on weekends, separate lives. I thought about what Leah asked, how I felt about all of this. The truth was, I didn't know. I was angry, I was hurt, I was exhausted, but I was also relieved. The lying was over. The secrets were out. Now we could move forward. Not together, but forward. I closed my eyes. Tomorrow I would go back to work. Tomorrow I would start figuring out the routine, daycare drop-off, work, pick-up, dinner, bedtime, repeat. It would be hard, but I could do it. I thought about the evidence folder on my laptop, all those documents, all those logs, all that proof. It felt like a weight I'd been carrying for weeks. And now I could set it down, not delete it, but set it down. I rolled onto my side. I pulled the blanket up. Tomorrow was a new day. Tomorrow I would start building the life Jacob and I needed. A stable life, an honest life, a life where he didn't have to wonder if the people he loved were telling him the truth. I fell asleep thinking about pancakes, about Saturday morning cartoons, about Jacob's laugh, about the little things that mattered, the little things I wouldn't miss anymore. The first week alone with Jacob was harder than I expected. Mornings were a rush, getting him dressed, making breakfast, packing his lunch, dropping him at daycare by 8, then working until 5, picking him up, dinner, bath, bedtime. I fell into bed exhausted every night. On Saturday morning, Megan called. Jacob talked to her for 20 minutes. When he hung up, he asked when he could see her. I told him next weekend. He seemed okay with that. We spent the day at the park. I pushed him on the swings. We played in the sandbox. We got ice cream on the way home. Normal things, simple things. On Monday morning, I got an email from Emma. It was the financial disclosure forms. Both Megan and I needed to fill them out before the next session. I printed mine and started working on it that night after Jacob went to bed. Income, assets, debts, bank accounts. It took 2 hours. I scanned it and emailed it back. On Tuesday morning, Carlos stopped me in the lobby. He looked uncomfortable. "Daniel," he said, "I need to tell you something." "What?" "Kyle Harmon was here last night. He tried to come up to your unit." "I didn't let him. I went still. What time?" "Around 8. He said he needed to talk to Megan. I told him she doesn't live here anymore. He asked for her new address. I didn't give it to him. What did he do? He got angry. He said I was interfering. I told him I was following building policy. No unauthorized visitors. He left after that. Did you log it?" "Yeah." "It's in the incident report. Can I get a copy?" He nodded. He went to the desk and printed it. He handed it to me. I read it quickly. Kyle Harmon. 8:15 p.m. Requested access to Unit 8C. Access denied. Visitor became verbally aggressive. Escorted from premises. "Thanks, Carlos." "No problem. Just thought you should know." I folded the paper and put it in my pocket. I went to work. But my mind was somewhere else. Kyle was trying to see Megan. That meant they were still in contact. That meant she was still talking to him. At lunch, I called Emma. "I need to tell you something," I said. I told her about the incident report. "That's concerning," she said. "Has Megan mentioned continued contact with Kyle?" "No. She hasn't said anything." "I'm going to bring this up at our next session. This could affect the custody arrangement if she's still prioritizing that relationship." "Okay. Daniel, do you have a copy of the incident report?" "Yes." "I'll bring it." "Good. See you next Wednesday." I hung up. I sat in the basement break room. I stared at the wall. She was still talking to him. After everything, after the mediation, after admitting to the emotional affair, she was still in contact. I pulled out my phone. I opened the text thread with Megan. I typed, "Kyle tried to come to the apartment last night. Carlos turned him away. Why is he trying to see you?" I sent it. 3 minutes later, she replied, "I don't know why he came. I haven't talked to him since the mediation." I stared at the message. I didn't believe her. I typed back, "You need to cut all contact with him. If you're still talking to him, it's going to affect custody." Her response came fast. "I'm not talking to him. I swear." I put the phone away. I didn't respond. I went back to work. That night after Jacob went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table. I opened my laptop. I pulled up the HR email draft. I read it again. Then I opened a new draft. I typed carefully, "To whom it may concern." I am writing to report an additional incident involving Kyle Harmon, HR Director. On Tuesday evening, he attempted to gain unauthorized access to my residence to contact my estranged wife, Megan Trace. Building security denied access and filed an incident report. This occurred after Ms. Trace and I entered mediation for separation due to their inappropriate relationship. I am concerned that Mr. Harmon is continuing to pursue contact despite the professional and personal boundaries that have been violated. Please see attached incident report. I attached the report from Carlos. I read the email twice, then I saved it as a draft. I didn't send it, not yet. But it was ready. If Kyle showed up again, I would send it immediately. I closed the laptop. I checked my phone. There was a text from Leah. "How's the first week going?" "Hard. But we're managing." "How's Jacob?" "He's okay. He asks about Megan, but he's not upset." "That's good." "How are you?" "Tired." "And frustrated." "Why frustrated?" "Kyle tried to come to the apartment last night. Security turned him away. Megan says she hasn't talked to him. I don't believe her." "Jesus. Are you going to report it?" "I'm going to tell Emma at the next session. If he shows up again, I'm reporting him to HR." "Good. Don't let him intimidate you." "I won't. Call me if you need anything." "I will." I put the phone down. I walked to Jacob's room. He was asleep. I stood in the doorway and watched him. He looked peaceful. I wanted to keep it that way. I wanted to protect him from all of this. The next morning, I got a call from the daycare. Jacob's teacher said he'd been quiet all day. He didn't play with the other kids. He just sat in the reading corner. I left work early and picked him up. On the drive home, I asked if he was okay. "I miss Mommy," he said quietly. "I know, buddy." You'll see her this weekend. Why can't she come home? Because she and I need to live separately for a while. But she still loves you, and I love you. That's never going to change." He nodded. He didn't say anything else. When we got home, I made his favorite dinner. Chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese. We ate together. After dinner, we played with his cars. At bedtime, I read him 2 stories instead of 1. He fell asleep holding his bear. I went to the living room. I called Megan. She answered on the second ring. "Is everything okay?" "Jacob had a hard day at daycare. He's missing you. Oh no. Is he okay now?" "He's asleep. But I think you should call him more often. Not just on weekends. Maybe every night before bed." "Okay. I can do that. Thank you for telling me." "And Megan," I said, "we need to talk about Kyle." She was quiet. "He tried to come here Tuesday night." "Why?" "I don't know, Daniel. I told you I'm not talking to him." "Then why did he show up? Maybe he's worried about me. Maybe he wanted to check on me. I don't know. You need to tell him to stop. If he shows up again, I'm filing a formal complaint with his company." "Okay, I'll talk to him." "You said you're not talking to him." She paused. "I meant I'll send him a message. I'll tell him to leave us alone. Do it tonight." "Okay, I will." I hung up. I sat on the couch. I pulled out my phone. I opened my email. I found the HR draft. I added one more line at the end. "Ms. Trace has been informed of this incident and has agreed to instruct Mr. Harmon to cease all contact. If contact continues, further action will be necessary." I saved it. I closed my phone. I turned on the TV. I didn't watch it. I just needed noise. On Thursday morning, I got a text from Megan. I sent Kyle a message. I told him not to contact me or come to the apartment. He said, "Okay." I texted back. Good. That was it. I didn't say anything else. The rest of the week was quiet. Jacob seemed better. He played with the other kids at daycare. He laughed at dinner. He asked fewer questions about Megan. On Friday night, I packed his bag for the weekend. Clothes, his bear, his favorite books. Megan was picking him up Saturday morning at 9. Saturday morning, I woke up early. I made pancakes. Jacob ate 3. At 8:50, there was a knock on the door. I opened it. Megan stood in the hallway. She looked different, thinner. Her hair was shorter. She was wearing jeans and a sweater. "Hi," she said. "Hi." Jacob ran to the door. "Mommy!" he shouted. He hugged her legs. She bent down and hugged him back. Her eyes were wet. "I missed you so much," she said. "I missed you too." She looked at me. "Thank you for getting him ready." I nodded. "His bag is by the door." She picked up the bag. She took Jacob's hand. "We're going to have so much fun this weekend," she said to him. "Where are we going?" he asked. "To Grandma's house. And maybe the zoo tomorrow if the weather is nice." He smiled. "Okay." She looked at me again. "I'll bring him back Sunday at 6. Is that okay?" "Yeah, that's fine." She walked toward the elevator. Jacob waved at me. I waved back. The elevator doors closed. I stood in the hallway for a minute. Then I went back inside. The apartment was too quiet. I cleaned Jacob's room. I did laundry. I went to the store. I came back and made lunch. I sat at the table and ate alone. I checked my phone. No messages. At 3 p.m., Leah called. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Nothing." "Jacob's with Megan this weekend. Want to come over?" "I'm making dinner." "Sure. What time?" 6. "I'll be there." I hung up. I spent the rest of the afternoon watching TV. At 5:30, I drove to Leah's house. She opened the door holding a glass of wine. "You look terrible," she said. "Thanks." She laughed. "Come in." I walked into the kitchen. She was making pasta. I sat at the counter. She poured me a glass of wine. I took a sip. "How's the first weekend without him?" she asked. "Weird. The apartment feels empty." "That's normal." "Yeah." She stirred the sauce. "Have you heard from Megan?" "Just a text confirming she picked him up." "That's it." "How do you feel about her having him for the weekend?" "I don't know. Nervous, I guess." "I keep checking my phone." "She's his mother. She's not going to hurt him." "I know. It's just hard to let go." Leah turned around. She looked at me. "Daniel, you need to start figuring out what you want." "What do you mean?" "I mean, do you want to stay separated? Do you want a divorce? Do you want to try again? You can't stay in limbo forever." I set the wine glass down. I don't know what I want. Part of me wants to move on. Part of me wonders if we could fix this. "Do you still love her?" "I don't know. I love the person she used to be. But I don't know if that person exists anymore." Leah nodded. She turned back to the stove. "That's fair. But you need to figure it out. For your sake. And for Jacob's." "I know. We ate dinner. We talked about other things, her job, her apartment, normal stuff. At 9, I left. I drove home. The apartment was still too quiet. I turned on the TV. I fell asleep on the couch. On Sunday morning, I woke up at 7. I cleaned the apartment again. I made coffee. I sat at the table. I checked my phone. There was a text from Megan from an hour ago. Jacob woke up asking for you. I told him he'd see you tonight. He's okay now. We're going to the zoo, I texted back. Thanks for letting me know. I spent the day doing maintenance around the building, changing filters, checking boilers, fixing a leaking pipe on the 3rd floor. At 5:30, I went back to the apartment. I waited by the window. At 6 exactly, there was a knock on the door. I opened it. Jacob ran in. He hugged me. Daddy, we saw lions and monkeys, and we got ice cream. That sounds amazing. Megan stood in the doorway. She handed me his bag. He had a great weekend. Oh, good. Thanks. Daniel, can we talk for a second? I looked at Jacob. Go put your bear in your room, buddy. He ran down the hall. I stepped into the hallway. I closed the door most of the way. What? I said. I just wanted to say thank you for letting me have this weekend with him. It meant a lot. He's your son. You don't have to thank me, she looked down. I know, but still. Thank you. Is there something else? She hesitated. I got a message from Kyle this week. I went cold. What did it say? He said he's sorry. He said he shouldn't have come to the apartment. He said he's going to leave us alone. Good. But Daniel, he also said his company is investigating him. I didn't say anything. Did you report him? She asked. No. Not yet. Then who did? I don't know. Maybe someone at the company noticed something. Or maybe he's just paranoid. She looked at me. If he loses his job, it's going to be bad for both of us. How? Because he'll blame me. He'll say I caused it. And he has connections. He could make things difficult. That's not my problem. Daniel, please. If you reported him, just tell me. I didn't report him, but I will if he shows up again. She nodded. Okay, I just wanted you to know. Is there anything else? No. I'll see you next weekend. She walked to the elevator. I went back inside. Jacob was in his room playing. I sat on the couch. I pulled out my phone. I opened my email. I searched for messages from Kyle's company. Nothing. Then I searched for messages from Emma. Nothing. I opened the HR draft. I read it again. I hadn't sent it, so who reported him? Or was Megan lying? Was Kyle even being investigated? Or was she testing me, trying to see if I would admit to reporting him? I closed my phone. I didn't know what to believe anymore. On Monday morning, I got a call from Emma. Daniel, she said, I need to reschedule Wednesday's session. Why? I have a family emergency. Can we move it to Friday at 2? Yeah, that works. Good. I'll send a new confirmation email to both of you. Is everything okay? Yes. Just a scheduling conflict. See you Friday. She hung up. I put the phone in my pocket. 2 more days. 2 more days, and I would find out if Megan was still in contact with Kyle. 2 more days, and I would show Emma the incident report. 2 more days, and I would know what came next. I went to work. I spent the day in the basement. At lunch, I sat in the break room. I pulled out my phone. I opened the evidence folder. I looked at all the documents one more time. The timelines, the logs, the screenshots. Everything was still there. Everything was still true, even if I didn't know what to do with it anymore. I closed the folder. I put the phone away. I went back to work. Friday came slowly. I worked through the week on autopilot. Drop off Jacob. Work. Pick up Jacob. Dinner. Bath. Bedtime. Repeat. Every night he asked when he could see Mommy again. Every night I told him soon. On Thursday night, Megan called him before bed. They talked for 15 minutes. He told her about his day, about the puzzle he finished at daycare, about the fire truck he saw on the way home. She told him she loved him. He said he loved her too. After he hung up, I took the phone. Megan was still on the line. Can we talk for a second? She asked. Yeah. I wanted to tell you that I'm looking at apartments. I should have my own place by next week. Okay. And I talked to my therapist about the mediation. She thinks it would be good if you and I tried to communicate better. Not about us, just about Jacob. I'm open to that. Good. Thank you. Is there anything else? She paused. Have you thought about what happens after the 60 days? Not really, because I was hoping we could talk about it. At the mediation, I know I messed up. But I'm trying to fix things, and I want to know if there's any chance we could try again. I don't know, Megan. I need more time. Okay. I understand. I'll see you at the session tomorrow. Yeah. I hung up. I sat on the couch. I didn't know what I wanted anymore. Part of me wanted to close the door completely, file for divorce, move on. Part of me wondered if she really was changing, if maybe we could rebuild. But every time I thought about Kyle, the anger came back. I went to bed early. I didn't sleep well. Friday morning, I dropped Jacob at daycare. I told him I had a meeting and Leah would pick him up. He said okay. I drove to Emma's office. I got there at 1:45. I sat in the waiting room. Megan arrived at 1:50. She sat in the chair across from me. We didn't talk. We just waited. At 2 p.m., Emma came out. She was wearing a navy suit. She held her tablet. Come on back, she said. We followed her into the office. We sat in the same chairs as last time. Emma sat behind her desk. Thank you both for coming, she said. I know we had to reschedule. I appreciate your flexibility. Today, I want to focus on two things. First, financial disclosures. Second, planning for the rest of the 60-day period. Sound good? We both nodded. Emma opened her tablet. She pulled up our financial forms. Let's start with income. Daniel, you're making approximately $52,000 a year. Megan, you're at $68,000. Correct. We both said yes. Good. Based on that, the preliminary child support calculation would be $400 per month from Megan to Daniel. That's assuming primary custody stays with Daniel. Megan looked down. Okay, she said quietly. Emma made a note. Now let's talk about assets. You have a joint savings account with about $12,000, a joint checking account with about $3,000, and you co-own a vehicle. Is that correct? Yes, I said. How do you want to divide that? I looked at Megan. I don't care about the money. You can have half the savings. I'll keep the checking account since I'm covering most of Jacob's expenses now, and I'll keep the car since I need it for daycare drop-off. Megan nodded. That's fair, Emma typed. Okay, we'll formalize that in the final agreement. Now let's talk about the next few weeks. How has the custody arrangement been working? It's been okay, I said. Jacob's adjusting. Megan had him last weekend. It went fine. Emma looked at Megan. How did you feel about it? It was good. I took him to the zoo. We had a nice time, but I miss him during the week. I understand. That's normal. Daniel, do you have any concerns about continuing the current arrangement? I pulled the incident report from my pocket. I unfolded it. I handed it to Emma. Yes, I have a concern. Emma read the report. Her face didn't change. She looked at Megan. Kyle Harmon attempted to access Daniel's residence on Tuesday evening. Can you explain that? Megan's face went pale. I don't know why he did that. I told him to stop contacting me. Emma set the report down. Have you been in contact with him since our last session? Megan hesitated. I sent him one message. I told him not to come to the apartment. That's it. Emma typed something. Just one message. Yes. Did he respond? Yes. He said, okay. Emma looked at me. Daniel, do you believe that's the extent of their contact? No. I think they're still talking. Megan's voice was sharp. We're not. I swear. Emma held up her hand. Megan, I need to be very clear with you. If you're still in contact with Kyle beyond what's absolutely necessary for work, it's going to affect this custody arrangement. The court doesn't care about infidelity per se, but it does care about patterns of deception. And if you're lying about this, it's a problem. I'm not lying, Emma leaned forward. Then why did Kyle show up at Daniel's apartment? Megan's voice broke. I don't know. Maybe he's not handling the separation well. Maybe he's confused. I can't control what he does. But you can control whether you respond to him. Have you blocked his number? Megan looked down. No. Why not? Because I need to be able to communicate with him for work. He's still my boss. Emma made another note. Megan, I'm going to recommend that you request a transfer to a different supervisor. If that's not possible, I'm going to recommend that all communication with Kyle go through HR or a third party. No direct contact. Can you do that? Megan nodded. Yes. Good. I'm noting that in the record. If there's any further contact beyond what's documented through HR, we're going to revisit custody immediately. Megan wiped her eyes. Okay. Emma looked at me. Daniel, are you satisfied with that? For now. Okay. Let's talk about the next few weeks. We're at the halfway point of the 60-day period. How are you both feeling about the arrangement so far? I spoke first. It's working. Jacob's stable. He's doing well in daycare. He's happy. I want to keep it this way. Megan looked at me. What about after the 60 days? Do you want to make this permanent? I don't know yet, Emma interrupted. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We still have 30 days to go. A lot can change in 30 days. Let's focus on maintaining stability for Jacob. Megan, how often are you seeing him? Every weekend, and I call him every night. Good. Keep that up. Daniel, any concerns about the phone calls? No. I think they are good for him. Emma nodded. Okay. Then let's continue with the current schedule. Same custody arrangement, same visitation, same phone calls. We'll meet again in 2 weeks to check in. Any questions? Megan raised her hand slightly. Can I ask something? Of course. What happens if Kyle contacts me again, even if I don't respond? Emma looked at her carefully. If he contacts you, you document it immediately. You take a screenshot, you forward it to me and to Daniel. You do not respond. If he shows up at your residence or your workplace, you call security and you file a report. Understood. Yes. Good. This is important, Megan. If Kyle is harassing you, that's a separate issue. But you need to be transparent about it. No more secrets. Megan nodded. Okay. Emma closed her tablet. I think that's everything for today. I'll send you both an updated agreement reflecting the financial terms and the communication guidelines. Review it carefully, sign it, send it back. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. We stood up. Megan walked to the door first. She stopped and looked back at me. Can we talk outside for a minute? She asked. I looked at Emma. She nodded. I followed Megan out to the hallway. She walked to the window at the end of the hall. I stood a few feet away. What? I said. I need you to believe me, she said. I'm not talking to Kyle. I'm not lying anymore. Then why did he show up? I don't know, Daniel. Maybe he's struggling. Maybe he feels guilty. Maybe he wants to apologize. I don't know. If he contacts you again, you need to tell me immediately. I will. I promise. And you need to block him. I don't care if he's your boss. You can communicate through email if you need to. But block his number. Okay, I'll do it tonight. I looked at her. She looked tired. Her eyes had dark circles. Her hands were shaking slightly. Are you okay? I asked. No, I'm not okay. I miss my son. I miss my home. I miss you. I looked away. I can't do this right now. I know. I'm sorry. I just needed to say it. She walked past me toward the elevator. I stood by the window. I watched her leave. Then I walked back to the waiting room. Emma was standing by the receptionist's desk. Daniel, she said, can I talk to you for a second? Yeah, she gestured to her office. I followed her back in. She closed the door. I wanted to check in with you, she said. How are you holding up? I'm okay. Tired. That's understandable. This is a difficult process. Yeah. She sat on the edge of her desk. Daniel, I need to ask you something. Do you think Megan is being honest about Kyle? I thought about it. I don't know. Part of me wants to believe her. Part of me thinks she's still hiding something. Emma nodded. My job is to help you navigate this as clearly as possible. And from where I'm sitting, I see a woman who made serious mistakes and is trying to fix them. But I also see a pattern of deception that's hard to break, so I need you to be vigilant. If anything feels off, if Kyle shows up again, if Megan's story changes, you document it immediately. Understood? Yes. Good. And Daniel, one more thing. You need to start thinking about what you want long term. Not just for the next 30 days, but for the next year, 5 years. Do you want a divorce? Do you want to try counseling? Do you want to co-parent as friends? You don't need to decide today, but you need to start thinking about it. I will, okay? See you in 2 weeks. I left the office. I drove home. I sat in the parking lot for a few minutes. Then I went inside. I called Leah. How did it go? She asked. Okay. Megan agreed to stop direct contact with Kyle. She's supposed to communicate through HR only, and she's supposed to request a new supervisor. That's good? Yeah. But Kyle showed up at the apartment again. Last week, security turned him away. Jesus. Did you report him? Not yet. But I'm keeping the incident reports. If he shows up again, I'm sending everything to his company. Good. Don't let him intimidate you. I won't. How's Megan? She says she's trying. She says she's going to therapy. She says she wants to fix things. Do you believe her? I don't know. Leah was quiet for a second. Daniel, you need to figure out what you want. Do you want to move on, or do you want to try again? I know. Emma said the same thing. So what do you want? I want Jacob to be okay. That's the only thing I'm sure about. That's a good start. But you need to figure out the rest eventually. I know. We talked for a few more minutes. Then I told her I needed to go pick up Jacob. She said goodbye. I hung up. I drove to Leah's house. Jacob ran out when he saw me. He hugged my legs. Daddy, he said. Aunt Leah made cookies. That's great, buddy. Did you save me one? Yeah, it's in my backpack. We drove home. He talked the whole way about the cookies and the games they played. When we got home, he ran to his room. I made dinner. We ate together. After dinner, I gave him a bath. At bedtime, I read him a story. He fell asleep holding his bear. I went to the living room. I sat on the couch. I pulled out my phone. I opened my messages. I scrolled to Megan's name. I typed, "Did you block Kyle's number?" 3 minutes later, she replied, "Yes, I did it right after the meeting." I stared at the message. Then I typed, "Good. Thank you." Her response came fast. "I'm trying, Daniel, or I really am." I put the phone down. I turned on the TV. I didn't watch it. The next 2 weeks passed quietly. Jacob stayed with me during the week. He went to Megan's on the weekends. She called him every night. I worked, I cleaned, I cooked, I fell into a routine. It wasn't the life I expected, but it was stable. On the second Friday, I got a call from Emma. The next mediation session was scheduled for Monday. I confirmed. That night, I packed Jacob's bag for the weekend. Megan picked him up Saturday morning. She looked better, less tired. She smiled when Jacob ran to her. On Sunday night, she brought him back. He hugged me and ran inside. Megan stood in the doorway. "See you Monday," she said. "Yeah." "Daniel," she said, "I just want you to know. I haven't heard from Kyle, not once. I'm keeping my promise." "Okay, I know you don't trust me yet, but I'm going to prove it to you, however long it takes." I nodded. I closed the door. On Monday morning, I dropped Jacob at daycare. I drove to Emma's office. Megan was already in the waiting room. We didn't talk. At 2 p.m., Emma called us back. We sat in the same chairs. Emma opened her tablet. "We're at the 45-day mark," she said. 15 days left in the temporary arrangement. Today I want to talk about what happens next. Are we making this permanent? Are we adjusting? Are we trying something new? Let's start with you, Daniel. What do you want? I looked at Megan, then at Emma. I want to keep primary custody. I think it's working. Jacob's stable. He's doing well. I'm open to adjusting the visitation schedule if Megan wants more time, but I want final decision-making authority. Emma nodded. She looked at Megan. How do you feel about that? Megan's voice was quiet. I don't want to lose more time with him, but I understand why Daniel wants this. So I'll agree, as long as I can see him more during the week, maybe one night for dinner. Emma looked at me. Daniel. I thought about it. Wednesdays. She can pick him up from daycare. Have dinner with him. Bring him back by 7:30. Megan nodded quickly. Yes, I can do that. Emma typed. Okay. So the new arrangement is primary custody to Daniel. Visitation every weekend plus Wednesday dinners. Final decision-making to Daniel. Child support remains at $400 per month. Does that work for both of you? We both said yes. Good. I'll draft the final agreement. You'll have it by end of week, review it, sign it, and then we're done with mediation. You'll transition to whatever long-term arrangement you decide. Therapy, divorce, reconciliation. That's up to you. She looked at both of us. Any final questions? I shook my head. Megan shook hers. Okay then. Good luck to both of you. We stood up. Megan walked to the elevator. I followed. We rode down in silence. When the doors opened, she turned to me. Thank you, she said, for giving me Wednesday nights. He's your son. You should see him. She nodded. She walked to her car. I walked to mine. I sat in the driver's seat. I checked my phone. There was a text from Leah. How did it go? It's done. Final agreement coming this week. I got primary custody. She got Wednesday dinners and weekends. That's good. You did it. Yeah, how do you feel? I don't know. Relieved, I guess. You should be proud. You protected your son, and you did it the right way. Thanks. I put the phone down. I started the car. I drove to pick up Jacob. When I got to the daycare, he ran out and hugged me. Daddy, he said, I made you a picture. He handed me a drawing. It was a house, a stick figure of me, a stick figure of him. a stick figure of Megan on the other side of the page. "This is us," he said. "I know, buddy. It's perfect." We got in the car. He talked about his day. I listened. When we got home, I hung the picture on the fridge. We made dinner together. After dinner, we played with his cars. At bedtime, I tucked him in. "Daddy," he said, "are you and Mommy going to live together again?" "I don't know yet. Maybe someday. But right now, we're better living apart." "Okay. As long as I still get to see both of you. You will, I promise." He closed his eyes. I turned off the light. I went to the living room. I sat on the couch. I pulled out my phone. I opened the evidence folder one last time. I looked at all the documents. Then I closed it. I didn't delete it. But I didn't need to look at it anymore either. I had done what I needed to do. I had protected my son. I had documented the truth. I had fought for what was fair. And now it was over. The mediation was done. The custody was decided. The next chapter was starting. Whatever it looked like, I would figure it out. One day at a time. I closed my eyes. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe.